would talk about it like it was something deeply religious. And then I guess he just started fucking everybody. At some point in time, these cultish type of things, there's always a dude fucking, this is a weird world. No, they got you dropping ass in there over and over. Yeah, it's tough.
That's what I was like nervous about. I wonder like what he's gonna ask, because I didn't like I listen to podcasts, but not often.
Yeah.
But I do I was like, I can't imagine like but he would say, but that I guess my mom was like, do you not want to answer anything? I'm like, what do you mean anything? I talk about everything.
Just imagine just
my mom got in my head.
Me just asking you a question and be like, no. I'd actually.
That's what I was nervous about. I was nervous. Well, I would not shut you down like that, but
I mean,
I was like, what? I wonder if people tell them that they don't want to answer stuff. I was like nervous about that part for some reason.
Yeah, no. I mean, okay. Here's the question: how often do you find yourself having a conversation? Well, first of all, I don't know how many conversations you have with people that are like at any length more than 2-3 minutes at a time, like at work.
That is true.
Like how long you have a 30-minute discussion with someone or an hour-long discussion.
That doesn't happen often.
Right. So maybe that matters. That's a factor. Because I was going to say, how many conversations do you find yourself in where you say something or you ask something of someone and then they're just like, no.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, that's a bit too far. Like, I'm not going to answer that. Like if you're like tracking the conversation and you're reading the room, you're like listening to the person, and you should kind of know like where you're about to just take a complete left turn and ask them something that doesn't make any sense in the context of what you're talking about, or the level of comfort that they've shown you.
That does make sense.
Yeah, you just got to kind of
It sounds like you've done this before.
You know what I'm saying? You know what I mean? But so I've been having a lot of fun with this question.
Oh, are you gonna ask me questions?
Absolutely.
Okay.
I'm just gonna say this. I'm not just asking questions, but I do want to start with this one.
Okay. Shoot.
Okay. If your favorite color, do not tell me what it is. If your favorite color had a personality, like it was a friend of yours, and I asked you to give me 3 descriptive, adjectives about this person or this thing, what are 3 things you might say about this?
This is a good one. 3 descriptive adjectives about the personality of my favorite color.
Yes.
Okay. Somber, young.
Somber, young,
and young.
Okay.
And
young, like youthful, just like
youthful.
Okay.
Just a young color.
A young color. All right.
And
that's funny. This is always so much fun.
Super go with the flow.
Okay. Okay. Somber.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Go with the flow. And by the way, in your mind, somber means what?
I guess a little like sad, a little down.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just.
I'm gonna try.
Okay. I feel like my color is easy. I don't know why.
The young one is interesting. The young is definitely interesting. Because I don't think I've ever heard anyone describe a color that way. Is it lavender?
No, but that's pretty close.
Okay, so it is like a purplish. It's like a lilac.
I think that you're going in the right direction of like lighter colors. Okay,
like softer.
Softer might have been a more appropriate word.
Maybe that's the youthful part, the young part.
Young.
Okay. Is it pink?
No.
Okay. Is it yellow?
No.
All right, so what is it?
Baby blue.
Baby blue. Yes, of course.
I don't know why I said young.
So no. So the other day I had a baby blue. Someone said that to me. They said joyful. Fuck, I forgot what the other one is. But it's something remotely close to youth. Like I saw youthful. Like I get that. I get that part. The reason I asked this question is not necessarily just because it's fun to try to guess people's favorite colors, but because often when we attach ourselves to like animals or colors or something like that, they're not arbitrary. Like you like them for some sort of reason. It's usually you start to see a connection between yourself and that thing. Like when you talk about animals, people are like, oh, that's my spirit animal. Like I want to be that thing so badly. So a lot of times you ask someone to do something like that, and in some ways they're either describing how they see themselves or possibly what they may aspire to be in some of those adjectives.
That's so interesting.
It is interesting.
That's an interesting way of looking at it. I would think about colors. I think about just aesthetically what I enjoy looking at. And like I would also say that with green, like if I see a lot of green, it always just changes my mood. So when I was thinking about colors, I would refer to it in that way, but I understand like why people would go in that direction.
What does green do to your mood?
It's like, I'm pretty sure scientifically green enhances your mood. It's a thing. The same way if your walls are blue, it's supposed to make you feel hungrier or something.
Oh,
There's like statistics out there.
Feng shui. Well, I didn't know about the color blue doing that, but I did. Did you ever watch Brain Games? It was a TV show. They just did a bunch of psychological games. No, this was like years and years ago. But I talked to Mark about it. Do you remember Mark from work?
Yes.
He was a server. Long, stringy hair, glasses.
Does he still work
Very
there?
funny. No.
I think I know who you're talking about. There's two Marks in my head. That's why I'm curious.
Is the other Mark Asian?
No, I don't know if you know other Mark. He worked there, and he now works at Lazy Dog. That's why I ask if he still worked there.
And never mind, because the person I'm speaking about is a Matt.
Okay.
So I just fucked that up.
Oh, yeah, we're on the same page about Matt.
Regardless, though, damn, why did I bring Mark up into this? What was I just saying? We were talking about colors.
And then, we were talking about the TV show, and then you brought up Mark.
Brain Games. He said, there you go, good job. You're better than me. So he said that they used to make him watch Brain Games like in school. Like this was something that they used to just like show. Either way, they used to do a ton of psychological, like really fun games to just show how interesting humans are. And I remember them saying that the colors orange, like red, yellow, or types of colors that get people hungry for whatever reason, which is why if you look at Burger King, McDonald's, Wendy's, Checkers, any of these huge conglomerates, they all have red and yellow in their...
That makes sense.
In their stuff.
Now that I'm thinking about it, I don't know if it was the color blue, but I do remember my dad, he has his own office, and I remember when he was painting it, and he specifically made it green, and I was like, why are you making the walls green? And then he said something like, oh, blue makes you hungry. Like, that sounds a lot more accurate, what you were talking about. It was just something my dad said, where he's like, you look at blue too long enough, it makes you hungry. And they just kind of took it and ran with it when I was 12.
Okay.
But I do think the green is a real fact, because I also felt that when I was in Hawaii. I definitely felt happier. I also think that's why seasonal depression is such a thing. I don't necessarily know if it has to do with like the temperature, but just the lack of green outside. I think it makes people just really sad.
Interesting. I spoke to someone at work the other day that told me that their seasonal depression takes place during the summertime.
Ugh. Well, that's awful.
Yeah, it's tough.
That's awful. I wonder why.
Yeah, I don't know. The only thing I could really get out of them is that there's something depressing about, you know, when like you get mad at something and then you get a little bit more angry at the fact that you're angry, that it allowed you to get to a point of anger. I think this person would like go through depression just pretty generally. Yeah. And then summertime would come and so many people would come out of depression and would be having such a great time. And this person's still kind of feeling that, and then would get further depressed in the summertime because they're not on the same frequency as everyone else.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
So it's coming more from like a social aspect rather than like the temperature or the aesthetic of that. I understand. That makes sense.
That's a tough
one. I didn't even think that seasonal depression was a real thing until I moved away from here to somewhere else that didn't have seasons, and then people didn't experience seasonal depression. And so when I came home, I had this epiphany where I was like, everyone here is just depressed because it's the winter. It's really, and I feel like a lot of people try and obviously attribute like why they're feeling some type of way to anything they can in their life. And sometimes I remember telling my sister, I was saying, you know, it might just be the weather. It might just be because the weather is really bad right now.
Yeah, sometimes you don't know what the fuck is going on with you. Like, you don't know.
I know.
Like, everything is connected. Like, you're not detached from all the factors of life. And there's a ton of things going on around you all the time. And sometimes you just wake up and you're not who you were yesterday. Like, you don't have that same feeling. Yeah, it's a tough one. But something that helps with that is one of the main things I wanted to talk to you about today, because I'm very, very interested in this. And that's just being an active human. And so I learned that you're a Pilates instructor, one. And I guess I want to ask, have you always been active? Let me start with that.
Yes.
Okay.
I've always been a pretty active person.
Like from birth? What sports were you playing?
I was the kid when I was growing up where my parents, they stuck me in gymnastics when I was like 2 or 3.
That was my little sister too.
Yeah, they were like, she's kind of picking up on this. This is great. So everyone starts kind of talking already competitively about gymnastics. The conversation started so quickly. And then I remember they were like, let's throw her in another sport. So they threw me in soccer. And I was kicking ass at soccer. So they just kept throwing me in sports. I remember I did like flag football one year when I was 5. They threw me in lacrosse when I started getting older, basketball, and swim. I was a big swimmer too for a long time. So then over time, nothing was really dropping. Like, I was just playing so many sports.
Wait, you were just doing them all?
Yeah, like I was when I was like 7. I had a sport every season by the time I was like 7 years old. I was swimming in the summer, and then I was playing soccer in the fall. I was playing basketball in the winter, and then the spring would come and I'd either play soccer again. I remember one year they tried lacrosse, but I've always just been someone who like really strives, and for some reason I find like the validation of just feeling like strong and good about myself through that. So I just really took it and ran with it as a child. And so as I got older, I did kind of have to start to narrow down. Like once I hit seventh grade and I was going into middle school, I remember my parents telling me, you can only do 2. So you got to figure it out. You got to cut it down. So I did basketball and swim. And then 8th grade came, and then like our lacrosse coach convinced me to play lacrosse again. So I went back to lacrosse for a little bit, was doing 3 sports, and then high school came and I buckled down and I played basketball for 4 years.
Okay.
So in high school, I only did basketball and I stuck with that. And I was a year-round competitive player. I was doing AAU all through. I was already doing AAU when I was in like 6th grade, but then once I hit high school, that's where I was like really playing with my age division and like girls that I was going to compete with throughout my entire high school career. So I think that's when it like really started competitively. I was going to practice before school, just going to practice after school. You know, I was like definitely a student of the craft at that point. I was really enjoying myself. And then when I got older, I did have a few coaches down the line that kind of started ruining the sport for me a little bit.
Everyone has that story.
Everyone does.
Everyone has
every
that.
Athlete
Every
does.
athlete has that story.
Every athlete does. At least every athlete that at one point felt like they could really do something with it, in my opinion. You know, because some athletes are really just doing it for the fun of the game, and that's also perfectly fine. But those people that were really like competitive at one point, someone had to ruin it for them if they didn't end up playing competitively.
Yeah, so, that's very true.
So that just kind of, I was the product of that happening kind of my junior, my senior year. I was also just like an angsty teenager, so I was starting to kind of like feel out, like, you know, maybe I don't have to do this for another 4 years. And then I graduated 2020, so I didn't, like, everything kind of just basically went to shit. Like, I didn't have a graduation. I didn't have, I didn't finish out my senior year of basketball. I remember it just ended up being, like, a really crappy time, and that's when I decided to move to Hawaii, and I kind of stopped playing basketball and just was like, let me just learn some new stuff. Yeah.
Just being a zip line tour guide.
And I started surfing. I was just like, I'm just going to like completely turn my life upside down right now.
Damn. Did you get good?
I wasn't good, no.
Oh, okay.
It's really hard.
You didn't even try to lie about that.
Well, surfing is the best sport because it's only for fun. It really is. Facts. Even the people that are competitive there, it's all for the fun of it. So when I would go out there, I didn't feel like I had to be the best one. I was just competing with like the wave that was coming in front of me. I wasn't competing with anybody else for like the first time since I was doing gymnastics when I was 2. I hadn't really just been, it hadn't been me versus me, you know?
Yeah.
It was me versus like my teammate or me versus the person on the other team so surfing was like great for me mentally. Like loved it, but I was not good.
Yeah, I know some people really need like the game after game after game to the championship. Like they need that competitive nature against another to enjoy doing it. And then other people want nothing to do with that. And they just want to have a good, some friends of mine, and they're going to hear this. Some friends of mine wanted me to be a part of their dodgeball team so badly. But I have to tell you, first of all, I love everyone that was a part of that dodgeball team. It was like, they were like 12 people deep or something like that. But this group of people, I have not met more competitive people than this group of people. And I was like, see, if I get a part of this, I don't like the pressure. Like I would go out there to have fun. And it's not, and even if they hear this, they're going to still be thinking in their head, because they said this to me, what, winning isn't fun? Winning's great.
That's me.
You see, yeah. So I totally get it, but I was like, I don't need to be on that court with you guys. Like you guys,
no, I get that.
Yeah. Like I like to do things for the fun of it.
Yeah.
And I think that's very necessary, which is why most of those athletes that you hear from that had some coach along the line ruin whatever passion they had for whatever sport. It's just, that's exactly what happened. It became no longer fun, and therefore, like, I don't want to do it. And then people just start dropping out of doing things because it was ruined. Like the idea of it was just corrupted. But I'm glad you've been able to do it. So Pilates for you, when did that start? So
that started for me pretty recently. Not that recently, in December. I've been doing it, and I've been instructing since December. I work at Solid Core. I don't know if you're familiar with Solid Core. It's I would consider it reformer Pilates, but if you're looking at it from like a scientific or like technical standpoint, it's technically resistance training. Like if you were looking for like a true Pilates class, they have those like mat Pilates.
Understood.
But because of the machine we're using, it's like considered
there is
something else.
A machine that you use?
Yes.
One machine.
There's
that helps
machine.
You.
Yes.
Okay.
It's called Svetlana.
Svetlana?
Her name is Svetlana. Yes.
Okay. And so okay. So you all have named the machine.
Well, it's like the brand of the machine.
Okay, understood.
But we call her Svetlana because
yes.
That's her name.
Yes. Okay. That's a good name. Do you use this machine for every movement that you do in there? Yes. Okay. This is okay. So I know nothing of this.
It's very different. I would honestly consider it. Someone might feel like this is controversial, but I think that it's harder than Pilates. I guess I would say it's more intense than like a mat Pilates class, because I think when you're doing mat Pilates, it's a little more targeted. But you're using a lot of different muscles for every exercise that you're doing. Yeah. And you can change the resistance on it. And so no matter how many classes you've taken, like every person is struggling in the class, like just because you can change, they have to make it harder for the people that are advanced. So I absolutely love it. It's been like the best thing for me.
Well, how did you come to this?
Well, I was telling you earlier, but I used to be a zipline instructor when I was out in Hawaii, and that was like
you've done so many interesting
that was quite the experience in itself as well, because I've never had a job that required so much liability. Like I was really doing some laborious stuff where I was like, you had to put your back into it because you were doing it for other people. Like just people's lives were at risk in a lot of situations, and you were the person that they were looking to for help, and I hadn't been in a situation like that before. So that job definitely helped me physically, but also mentally, just going into other jobs, having like a lot more responsibility. I felt like I had grown when I came home and I had that experience. So I knew I was looking for a community similar to the zipline instructing, where everyone was just there. We were all feeling fit. We were all working out and we were all doing the same thing and we were in it together. And so I had tried a few different classes, and I had also done Orange Theory before with my mom. But nothing was really sticking. And then
Orange Theory, sorry to cut you off.
No, you're fine.
That is mostly exercises based on heart rate.
Yes,
correct?
They put a monitor. I think you can either get one on your chest or on your wrist, and they track it. And then there's certain, if your heart rate is in certain places. So if you're in the orange zone for a certain period of the class, then it's proven that you'll be burning calories for the rest of the day.
Yes,
or the rest of the night.
Understood.
Yeah, so that has 3 different ones, and it's a lot of cardio, because you do like row machines, and then you do the treadmill, and then you do like weights. So they're incorporating different stations and like HIIT exercises, things like that. And same with F45. I did an F45 class.
I've heard of F45.
I did really like it. I just didn't, the crowd, not the crowd, but the community in general, just I felt like I could find something better. I was just looking for something that was a little more tight-knit. I just really wanted to feel like I was a part of something. And so when I got to Solid Core, I was just really liking the coaches. I hadn't worked a job before. I was coming from bartending. And so it was just, it was very refreshing to just be around all women who were like working out and just trying to stay fit and stuff. And I was like, I hate my job right now compared to what you guys are doing. Like the guys that I have to talk to at my job right now compared to the girls I get to meet here at work is like so great. So right when I took a class, I was like, this is going to be what works for me. So and another thing too is that I was not doing well in the classes either, which like was really intriguing to me, because I was like, why am I not getting the hang of this? It was starting to just really fester. Where I was like, I'm just really not good at this. And it's one of those things where the first class you really do leave. And I was like, I don't know if I want to do that again. That was like probably one of the hardest classes I've ever taken. And I had to sit on it. And I realized, like, why wouldn't I want to do that? Like, that looks so much fun to be good at.
Yes. It looks like fun to be good
It does. It looks like something fun to practice and form a craft at. And I was like, I want to be one of the girls in the class that really looks like they know what they're doing. And so I just kind of stuck with it. And now I just love seeing people come in and get stronger. Like people come and then they stick with it, and then you see them want to keep coming. And you're like, I did that too.
That's beautiful.
It's the best.
That's beautiful.
It's the best.
I'm glad you said that.
Thank you.
Because I absolutely feel that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I see so many super inspirational like transformations on Instagram, just like people just starting, and you're just, because when you're like you were just saying, regardless of what level of fitness you're at, it's hard. like wherever you're at, it's whatever hard. You're doing, it's tough to do. So you gain like some perspective and empathy when you do remain active. And then you see people that are starting at a deficit because they've waited however many years, and maybe their diet's been shit, or they just haven't moved for 15 years, and their body's feeling it. I can't imagine like the mental hurdles that you have to get over when you're at certain points of fitness, but the fact that people do it, that they're just, they make this decision and they're like, fuck this shit. Like, listen, I saw like one of the greatest quotes. This chick said, she was like, time's going to pass anyway. Make it happen. Because people are always worried about like how long it's going to take. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I want a fit body in this amount of time. I want it's like, listen, the time's going to go by regardless. In however amount of time it takes for you to get to where this arbitrary thing is in your head, this idea of yourself, whenever you get there, it won't matter how long it took. It's not, once you're there, it's not going to matter. You're just going to be happy you did that shit. And you didn't continue to wait and wait and wait and wait.
I always tell the girl or the people that come into my class, like when it's their first time, every time I'm like, you just showed up. Like, you just showed up. That's
facts.
A big deal.
Big facts. Big facts.
You just showed up and you were the person in the class that didn't know what was going on, and you showed up, and that's a big deal. Like, not everyone shows up.
A lot of people.
Don't show up, especially when they're the new one.
Most people don't show up.
Yeah, especially too when they're like, they know they're going to be the one that doesn't know what they're doing. Because when you walk into one of those classes, a lot of people don't know what a Svetlana is or how one of those machines work. And I think it's very brave of people to just go and try something new.
Yeah.
And I love seeing it. It's my favorite.
It is interesting. I've been pretty active my entire life. I'd say I did a lot of basketball when I was young. I mean, and that was just like basketball out. My friends and I, we used to be outside, right?
Oh, yeah.
So we would just ride our bikes or just walk. We knew the city. We would just walk from court to court. Like there would be some summer days, Manassas.
Oh, cool.
So we would just go to different courts along the city, just knowing that there are going to be different pockets of kids to play. You know what I mean? And we would just go on tour. Just any given day, just go hit 3 different courts in 3 different,
so
fun.
Like
neighborhoods or whatever. It was so much fun. So a lot of basketball, a lot of riding bikes, just running around in general, a lot of just playing football outside and stuff like that. I did some blacktop leagues, a little bit of basketball in middle school. I wasn't good enough for that shit in high school, so I kind of dropped out there. But still active, still moving. My brother's been in physique training for like swimsuit stuff. He's done bodybuilding. So like I've always been around exercise in different ways. I started doing yoga years ago. And what I will say is, as you were saying, you went to this F45 class and you just felt like, for whatever reasons, we don't have to say, we don't have to get into, but it just wasn't quite it. And it is funny how these different like philosophies or like schools of thought in exercising do breed different types of people. Very, very interesting.
That's true.
And the more you get into fitness, it's such a large world. So many people doing so many things. And it's been paramount to me to find a way to keep fitness sustainable. I think it's very difficult for people to find a way in which they can sustain their fitness, sustain a routine. People go to gym. But if it's raining outside or it's cold or the gym's a little bit too far for your liking that day, you can easily make the excuses just like, I'm not going to go to the gym today. Like, I don't want to do that shit, which is fine. If you're exercising very, very like heavy weightlifting, which a lot of, maybe you and your friends don't have to deal with too many of this, but when you hang around guys, right, like guys love lifting heavy weight. And like it's, especially when you're young, it's what all the guys want to do. They want to be as large as they possibly can. So they're doing nothing but eating small hens, mashed potatoes, brown rice, and lifting heavy weight. Until inevitably you throw your back out or you fucking tear something because you're just trying to lift as much heavy weight as possible. And you're trying to sustain while doing that. And that's not necessarily sustainable for most people day in, day out. Like I know people that would try to go to the gym like 5-6 days a week and lift the heaviest weight that they can every single day.
It's not sustainable.
It's not sustainable.
No.
I'm like, all right. I've done yoga. I've learned a lot of these mat Pilates moves. I've done a lot of HIIT before. I know what you're talking about with those classes of ladies because I used to be in there.
Oh, they're fun.
There's some total body conditioning classes I would go to. It's just me and 30 other ladies in there. Fucking difficult. And from the outside looking in, you're just like, oh, it's the chicks dancing and stuff in there or whatever the case. It's probably the way people look at Zumba. You know what I mean? Like, they're just dancing. You try dancing for an hour.
Yeah, I mean, that's just
it's fucking crazy.
You're not doing it.
Yeah, no, they got you dropping ass in there over and over and over. And yeah, it's fucking, it's tough.
It's so funny.
So I knew that I wanted to move every single day. I felt like it's very, very important to move every day. I don't want to, I mean, at some point I'm going to die, right? But I'm trying to stay well oiled. You know what I mean? And be able to rotate and move. And so I move my spine every day. I jump. I do something. I get blood circulation going every single day. Sometimes it's pickleball. Sometimes it's yoga. Sometimes it's a different sort of yoga, like yin versus vinyasa. or it's, some Pilates stuff, or it's HIIT, or I would bring out the weights and I start doing some real like heavier resistance training. So right now I'm on like 95 days of working out 7 days a week. So about 95 days of exercise at this point in time. Feel amazing because I do a lot of restorative work like at the same time as I exercise, right? So I'd never like push myself to this point of just feeling like shit and broken down.
I understand.
I'm going to bring you in on something I've been very interested in. Okay. Now, it's not as freaky as it sounds when I first say it. It's butts. So, around 2020, I mean, it's been happening a little bit longer than that, but especially in 2020, clearly the quarantine happens, we're all shut down, everyone's in the house. Most people are not moving too much. And even if we're not talking about 2020, a lot of Americans, especially, their work day is, well, first, they're laying in bed for 8 hours, possibly. Most people sleeping between 5 and 8 hours. Your body's not doing anything. It's resting. You get up, you make your coffee, you eat your food, you get in a car or a bus or a train or something that's going to take you to work. Commute anywhere between 20 minutes to an hour. You're sitting down. You get up, you go to the place. Most people are sitting down. You get up, you get back into that way of commute, you're sitting down. You get back home, you want nothing more to do than to get some food and to sit down and watch some TV or something, right? Watch a good show. Go to sleep, you're back in bed. One of the top muscles that is forgotten about are the glutes. And I am so stupid. I had no idea the importance of the glute muscles.
Very.
Oh, and by the way, I don't think I'm the only one that doesn't know
They're important.
that they help you stand up straight. Like they are lifting your back up.
Oh, yes.
That they clearly help you walk up steps. I mean, squat down to do, so many things. And it's one of the largest muscles in the body. But then this thing happened in 2020 where all these articles started hitting about gluteal amnesia, also known as dead butt syndrome.
Interesting.
So what they're seeing is that, and I just keep looking at butts now, because what they're seeing is like if you don't use something in your body will slowly, it's amazing what the body can do. It'll slowly tell itself, oh, well, we don't need this thing, but we don't use it. Like we should do something with it. Let's eat away at it so then we can get some energy back. If we tear this muscle down, then we have now energy. So, okay, let's do that. And we can store that energy. You know what I mean? So they're just seeing people's butts deteriorate.
I could see
and
that.
It's just like these little itty bitty tiny things that are very, very, what do they call, atrophied. So people's butts are more atrophied now than ever in time, ever in human
That's so interesting.
existence. And people are slowly starting to lean forward.
Yes.
Put more weight on their knees, put more weight on their ankles. You know what I mean? And then the back starts to curve. And so all these things are happening. And because we don't always look at things as a system, one big, connected system, you don't think that like your knee problems or your ankle problems have to do with the fact that you don't have a nice ass on you. Yeah, you don't think that. It's very, very fascinating. And then I talked to my friend from who's here from Croatia right now. He's like studying. I don't think it's just kinesiology. It's kinesiology and something else. I always forget. But he's very, very interested in the locomotion, you know what I mean, of the body. And he just says that you have to think very, very outside the box when you're trying to cure certain things, because sometimes you have a pain in your right shoulder and it's coming down from your ankle and like you have no idea. It's like feet issues that you have, but you have pain at the top of your spine or some shit like that. So it's very, very interesting stuff. But I just thought like, fuck, man, we are like slowly, like our muscles are forgetting. Like that's why it's gluteal amnesia. Like they like forgetting what they're there for, you know, because you're just sitting on it all day long, not doing anything, like never promoting, like never activating it, you know, getting blood flow and nutrients to it. Like your body doesn't even send the nutrients that you eat that way anymore because it's like this muscle doesn't even need it. Yeah, it's fucking crazy.
That is crazy. It also, too, is crazy how people don't take into consideration like how other muscles will affect different parts of your body. You know, like I didn't realize that until I did solid core. I'd never really had any coach or instructor like have me work my obliques. I never really had people telling me to do that, you know, because you just think core and you think it's included. So when it is a separate muscle, it's separate and it's something that you have to work out. So then when you're in your solid core classes and the coaches are talking about like, you know, these muscles, they help you turn your body or they help you get up out of a chair. And like I do start to feel differently afterwards when I'm doing it for a certain amount of time. Not just in my obliques, but, you know, like I feel stronger in like my upper body because my obliques are stronger, you know, or I'm able to complete other exercises because my core feels stronger at different places, you know? And so it's just crazy that people's butts are deteriorating. Like that's a necessity. It's a big muscle. It's a big muscle.
I know it's just funny because the way that we form things, it's like it's a vanity thing. You know, like people just think exercise. A lot of times they think just vanity. Like people do it just to look good. Yeah. And that's a great thing. You know, like looking good and feeling good, you know, based off of how you look. I mean, listen, I don't want to take that away from anyone, but they're like real benefits, like real actual benefits that come with it. And I don't even personally, back to the fun thing. I love because I don't want to come up here and like lie. I like looking good. I like that the benefits are good. I like being able to get down, get up, pick stuff up, do this, do that, and like not feel winded or broken down. Like I like feeling capable. Yes, exactly. But more than anything, the reason why I find myself doing things in life, it could be this podcast, it could be the exercise every day, it could be just people I hang around, whatever it is I'm doing. It's genuinely because I enjoy doing the thing. Like the benefits are cool. That'll come with it. But I like doing them. Like I enjoy spending my time focusing on those things and doing them.
Yeah, you mean working out?
Yeah, that's
whatever movement.
Whatever I spend my time doing. Oh yeah. Like I like doing that thing and I like doing it not because of like something that comes out. Like the results are always great. Like the results always seem great. Like the result of this conversation could be that I learned some things that, you know, we have some bond here. We share some laughs. Like these are all results, but I do it because the process is fun. I do it because going through the conversation is fun. I'm not like sitting here waiting like, all right, where's the benefit? Yes. Like when am I going to get something that fuels me? No, I enjoy the process. And I think if you don't enjoy the process, it gets really difficult. So I ask people, you know, when I do talk about fitness with them, if they enjoy doing what they do or if they do what they do because they know it's good for them and they should do it, quote unquote, should do it. Yeah. Yeah.
I think that I don't know if it's because it was instilled in me. So I feel like it's not, everyone's opinion is a little biased. And so I just think about the fact that like I was lucky enough that my parents threw me into something at a young age. Yeah. Because when you're doing that at an age where your brain isn't even like fully developed, and naturally, at a certain point, like I thought it was like, this was just a given in my life. I was like, you know, so because, you know, there was a point where I wasn't playing basketball and I was moving and I didn't have that everyday consistency. And for like a month or two, it felt really good. And then something just didn't feel right in my life. I'd probably describe it as the same way when someone grows up really religious and then they might have an experience where they like lose that touch with the church because they move, or they have an experience with their family, whatever their reasons are. And then they're not necessarily I wasn't looking to go back to basketball. That was kind of like my church, but I was looking for that release.
Yes.
And I feel like when you like it enough, it feels almost similar to what I would imagine like a religion feels like. And I'm not a religious person. I am a spiritual person though, and I consider it at this point almost a religious practice. Like whether I'm waking up and I don't want to do it, I do want to do it. In my head, I'm like, this is what I'm supposed to be doing in the morning. Obviously, I have to go move my body, or else my body's not going to work for me the way I need it to today. You know, or that my brain isn't going to release amount of like endorphins before noon, and so I'm just not going to feel good. I know I'm not, you know? Yeah. And so I felt like I was really lucky, but I don't ever think I was doing it for like an aesthetic pleasure. Like I don't necessarily think it's ever come from that. With Pilates, I definitely was excited because I'd heard that there were great results. So I was excited to see like, you know, let me see what results are going to come from this. But ultimately, I've just loved feeling stronger. Like I do feel stronger. I've never felt this strong in my upper body before in my life. You started talking to me about it because you came up to me at work and you were like, your arms look so strong right now.
Well, yeah, no.
I was like, I hit my biceps this morning.
You know, when you're just not all, but most restaurant uniforms are not the best.
No,
like they're not what you would like to wear, right? So, and you said that when I met you out in the parking lot, you're like, oh, look, you look so non-spec, right? It's hilarious. Like, yes, we're in civilian clothing. It's nice to see someone. But then, yeah, you had, for whatever reason, you were just wearing like a gray t-shirt.
I did spec.
You were just working, but just not in uniform, really. Yeah. And that was
I wait as long as I can.
Yeah, and I was just like, oh, shit, she's fit.
Yeah. That was really nice.
She's fit. I was like, what do you do? Yeah, because I like to ask because you also start to see builds. Like I'll see someone, I'm just oh my God, they probably played like lacrosse. You see someone like, oh, they probably played volleyball. Yeah. Like you can pick up on some of these things.
Yeah.
So I just like to know, like the newest bartender, Mandy. You know what I mean? I was like,
she does
what do you do?
She does something.
Yeah. I was like, what do you do? And she's like, yeah, I've been in some competitions and stuff.
Well, when you also brought up too, just feeling, it feels better to be able. That's the other thing is like you saw me walking around, and it's not that they're like super heavy, but I don't want to be the girl at work that's walking up to someone asking them to carry my ice for me. Like I can do it, you know. And I like feeling strong enough to pick it up and do it myself, and I like feeling strong enough to be able to move one thing to the next. And like I just do sometimes see people in settings like that where it's almost like a given. Like I know even with the kitchen at the end of the night, even if I try so hard to take out my own trash, they won't let me, and it's so nice of them. But I also just know that I'm like I have something with wanting people to know I'm capable. And so I think that it's probably just coming from me, like always playing sports and being really competitive. Yeah. And it's just this natural thing, I guess, that comes to me. But I have to move my body. It's not like if I want to or not. In my head, I'm like, I'm just not going to feel the same if I don't get up and do this today. And I know myself. My friend that helps me do this podcast and has been a friend of mine for a very long time. He's a part of and I've had some other people from his gym, which is a CrossFit gym. All right, so he goes across. Yeah. I've been there. I think I went twice. They work out hard. They definitely work out hard. But as you were talking about, it's a certain group of people, a certain type of family. You know what I mean? Feeling in there. People they're cheering you on. People are looking at the records of last week, and it's like, you know, you're going to try to beat your record from last week. Like everyone's just engaging on a deep level, and when I see that, because I want to tie this together with this sort of ritualistic religious point that you brought up, I see it on Instagram when you see droves of people, just groups of people. It could be anywhere between 5, 10, 50, 100 people exercising on a beach somewhere or whatever the fuck. And a lot of times there's like music playing, and you know, the camera shots, they come up to the people, you see
what's going on with them. And if you've been like in a flow state, like exercising, especially amongst a bunch of other people doing the same thing, you get the understanding. It's like euphoric, you know,
It's
like,
so great.
It's like transcendent.
It's
like,
the best.
And I look at that and I get almost the same sort of happy like when I see like little babies discovering the world around them. Like it's the same sort of, a lot of my algorithm is exercise and babies. It's a lot of exercise and babies. I love watching babies, like people put their little babies up running around doing funny little shit. I love that. And fun. I love exercise.
Yeah.
And the way I've been able to put it into words when I see these people exercising and having as much fun as they are, and I feel this connection because when I exercise now, I see it and I feel it as a celebration of life, like a celebration of this capability that you're speaking about, this able-bodiedness, this like, we are here, we have these bodies, like, and we can do this. Like, let's do it. Let's do it together. Let's feel good about it. And so it does sort of seem like this ritualistic thing that is just built in. You know, once you get it to that point of just like, I get up and I move because I can, because it feels good, and because it literally all boats rise on the same tide. It's like you'll notice things about your life get better. Like just as we were talking about your core, your obliques getting stronger. And then you're able to do certain other exercises that you would have never thought would have been augmented by this other thing, right? But it just is, because it's a system. They all these things work together. My sleep has never been so good.
Oh, I bet.
Maybe since I was like a small child, and because small children just be getting good ass sleep, but not since then do I remember my sleep being so. I go to my bed with a certain confidence. Like I didn't. You have to understand. I never walked to my bed with such confidence before.
Oh, yeah.
Like I know once I cut this light off and I lay my head down, it's a wrap.
Oh,
We're shutting it down. It's over. It's over.
That's the best.
And you know, I can truly savor that experience and that love, because there were times when I was not nearly as consistent, just moving my body every day. And I would be up and just be like, what the fuck is going on? Like lights are off. My eyes are open.
Yes.
I've been in the bed an hour and a half. I'm like, what's going on? Like, when am I going to go? I got to work. I got to wake up for work in the morning. When am I going to go to sleep? Like, I don't know. I didn't have that confidence going to the bed then. I'm just like, fuck, I hope I can go to sleep. Like, I hope.
Wow.
You know what I mean? Like it wasn't always that great. And it wasn't until I started. I've always loved massages, so I get massages pretty regularly. But it wasn't really until restorative yoga or yin yoga, very, very long seated stretches, just really getting into the joints as well as the muscles in a deep way, did I start to relieve a lot of pain that I didn't even know maybe was there, or that I could even relieve just by doing a few stretches. Yeah. You know what I mean? So it was then, and then the exercise consistently now. Sleep. I wasn't, it's one of those things, I wasn't doing it for that benefit, but I'll take that shit.
Oh, that's amazing.
Oh my gosh.
Do you do hot yoga or just regular?
I've done hot yoga. Okay. Bikram.
Okay.
I don't know if that's just considered if hot yoga is just considered Bikram and Bikram's hot yoga.
Oh,
but
I'm not sure.
But I knew that Bikram, it came from this one guy that came over from like India or something like that. And I think he was some sort of guru, or he was at least he was in cahoots with gurus. Like he knew them, and I think he learned the ways. This is the way that this story's been told, because supposedly he came over here, got a bunch of, for the most part, like middle-aged white moms that wanted to start doing yoga, and he ended up with such a following that they have videos of his sessions. And I mean, don't get me wrong, just the same way I was speaking about these other droves of people exercising, it looked the same. Like it looked like they were having an amazing fucking time. Just the intense heat. First of all, I go to a sauna like 3 or 4 times a day.
Oh, cool.
Love the sauna. It's an infrared sauna, and they do have the different color lights. And maybe I should really read that chart and see what these different colors do.
The red
to you.
one's good though.
I usually do the red, but I'm gonna see.
The red's supposed to be
I'm gonna
good.
see what green does. I'm gonna go see what green does.
That's
see
exciting.
sit under the blue. See if I get hungry.
Yeah, you have to let me know. I'll tell my dad.
I'll definitely let you know. This is gonna be psychosomatic. I feel like I'm gonna go in there and I'm just gonna turn the blue on, and I'm gonna get hungry.
You're at this point.
First of all, I'm exercising, and then after the exercise, I'm in the sauna, so I'm gonna be hungry, and I'm just gonna trick myself and be like, "It's the blue light.
It's the blue lights.
This is a deeper hunger today. This isn't like the other hunger.
It's the blue lights."
They look like they were having a great time in these sessions.
Yeah.
It looked like he would have hundreds of people like in a room, and it's intense heat, and everyone's moving. And something that people love about Bikram is that it's like the same movements every single class you go. There's never any deviation. So I guess you go in, you're comfortable because you know exactly the routine. You're going to, see if you can do some things better, but it's a million people around you doing the same thing. It's this guy wearing a fucking loincloth, looking like he just came off of a mountain somewhere, and he's putting you in a trance, pretty much is the way that these women would talk about it. Like it was something deeply religious. And then I guess he just started fucking everybody at some point. At some point in time, these cultish type of things, there's always a dude fucking a lot of people at the top of it. Normally, there's some.
That's normally the case.
Dude up there.
It comes out eventually.
You know what I mean? Yeah, like you just got all these people looking at you like you're a messiah.
At this point, I feel like it has to be a part of the description when you're referring to any, like person that's putting themselves in a role like that. It normally comes with the
you gotta
sexual
be a little
exploitation.
You gotta at least. You got to at least raise an eyebrow. Just like keep your eye on them.
Yeah.
At the very least, just keep your eye on them.
Yeah. There's just too many stories.
So yeah. I've been to a couple Bikram classes. I enjoy the heat because I love that. But I've been told, because I put this take out there before, and I was told by a listener that I could have just very well been to a terrible class. Because they've been in classes and it didn't seem like the one I expressed. But the one I explained, I think it was an hour long. It seemed, so I like Vinyasa flow. You're flowing the whole time. It's a lot of everything that I train for now, which is everything. Strength, balance, stability, endurance, right? Or mobility. You're fucking sweating in a vinyasa class. Like you're going for an hour. Like you're constantly moving, going through a flow, getting up, getting down, one leg, two leg, jumping up, whatever. Like you start to sweat. It can be intense. I like that. Yin yoga, restorative yoga, I like that. You just very, very long, like anywhere between 2.5 to 5 minute stretches. You just sit there and melt away in a stretch and just stretch and stretch and stretch and stretch. Feels amazing when you come out of that. It's like, oh my God. Like I just feel like pasta now. Like I'm just loose. I'm ready to go.
That's the best.
Bikram lies somewhere in the middle where you're doing these movements, but like I'm not doing enough to generate a lot of heat and like work out really. But I'm also not sitting long enough in some of the holds to like get a really good stretch. Like you're coming out of the holds early, and the other sort of strength, mobility things are just like they just don't seem quite as intense as other yoga I've done. So I just kind of feel like I'm just like kind of getting up, laying down for a bit, getting up again, but it doesn't really seem like much is happening. Like I think for that, I would just do the sauna, get that heat part of Bikram, And then for the stretching part, I would do my yin. And then for the actual exercise part, I would incorporate all the other exercises that I do. So I was just like, Bikram just doesn't seem like it fits my life. Like I have I have these other things that take care of whatever this thing is supposed to do. So like, I don't want to do that. So that was
You also go to the sauna, so
yeah, that's what I'm saying. I was just like, I don't think I need that one.
That makes sense. My mom does. She was doing CrossFit, and now she does core power. I don't know if you're familiar, but it's I think that they also have just regular restorative yoga, but they also mostly have hot yoga. So she does that pretty religiously, and she seems to really like it. But she also doesn't go to the sauna often, so I think she takes it as an opportunity to kind of. It would just be similar if you were like stretching in the sauna, probably for her.
Yeah.
So
okay, this is going to be a slight deviation. We can get back on to the some of the athletics. So there have been a couple things, a couple times in this conversation where this has popped up. One, you said, the guys that I have to speak to at my job, it's not nearly as cool as like coming and hanging out with all these chicks that are getting stronger and high-fiving and shit. Then there was another one where we're now talking about, whoever Bikram is and these other dudes at the top somewhere that's just kind of being some nasty asshole. I'm not sure if you're aware of the Diddy thing at all.
Yeah.
Okay, I had to ask first. Like, do you know who Diddy is? Like, okay. Yeah. So Diddy was a nasty boy, and he's also very violent.
Yes.
So it's interesting. So I think we live in a pretty. I mean, I guess life in general is weird. So anyone living in any time is kind of a weird time. We're just here to experience this, and we're talking about it. There's a lot of distrust between men and women.
Yes.
And, again, I've only lived in this lifetime as far as I know. So I don't really know what the zeitgeist was like in other times, like how they truly felt about it. It seems like we've had our differences for quite some time now. There was a trend that was going around. Maybe you're in the know of this. Someone just told me about this the other day. Supposedly there was like if you had a sister or mom or whatever, some female loved one in the forest, would you rather that there was a bear in that forest, one single bear also in that forest? I'm not saying right next to the loved one, but somewhere roaming in the forest, or just a dude, like just some dude. And from what I heard, because I'm not looking at these polls, I'm certainly not doing them, it seemed like the answers were pretty
or dumb.
I mean, they were leaning, like they were leaning towards that bear. Like
I would. They teach you how to fight a bear in Girl Scouts. I know how to do that. That's like Girl Scouts 101.
Oh, man.
It's true.
Man, and when this person asked me this question, I stopped and just looked up. So I'm looking now and I'm like, fuck. Like, regardless of the answers or the percentages, because I mean, that's a factor too, and we have to look at those, because I think she said it was like an overwhelming majority, like 77% or so. It was pretty high. Said that they would take the bear in the woods than just some dude. I was like, fuck. That's a wild poll to take with wild statistics to come along with it. Like, because I'm like, where are we at? We're like, because like we're saying some things with that statement. We're saying. Well,
have you ever watched the show I Survived?
I have not.
So they have quite a few episodes. Obviously, they have one with like a shark attack. They had one where a man got struck by lightning. Someone got stung by a stingray. All these crazy situations that people obviously survive. And they had one, obviously, someone got attacked by a bear. They survived. They probably like lost limbs. It was a very traumatic situation, but I used to watch that show religiously when I was probably like 8, which I don't know was appropriate, but man. I was young. And all of the episodes, where the women survived the men, they were messed up. Like, not just mentally, but like no arms, no legs. Like they were like in the worst. That was always the worst case scenario, was when it was they survived a man, which I always like. When the whole thing came up with the bear or the man, I was like, of course. Like, I've seen the I Survived episodes.
Yeah, and I guess, like you said, Girl Scouts, which is, this is another funny fact about you, that I guess you were in the Girl Scouts.
The Girl Scout.
You was doing a lot.
My parents, they had 4 kids. They're like, let's keep them busy.
Yeah, facts. Yeah, they were just wearing you all out so you could go to sleep.
Pretty much.
Yeah, that is fucking insane.
Yeah.
That is insane. And then there's like, then there's just all these shows like this that come up, and it just terrifies you.
Yeah.
Like Yvonne Marie, she used to watch all these things with her, like all these ID channel things with her mom growing up. And her mom was just, she was like, Earl, just imagine like people knocking at the door, like, and you just think they're coming in to fucking kill you and rape you. Like you're like, my mom was crazy. She was always just like, don't trust these men out here. Don't trust anyone. Like, you just, everyone will hurt you pretty much, you know? And it's tough because it's a tough world and there's a lot of wild shit going on out there. But then I wonder how much of this, you know, is instilled in your mind and you're just like terrified growing up because you're 8 years old watching I Survived. You know what I mean?
I know.
But those are absolutely wild. It's just a wild thing. I'm just like, damn.
Hard. It's hard when it's like you. More often than not, I felt like I was putting myself in a position to receive more feedback from men when I was working behind the bar. Obviously, like now that I don't work that job, the men that I work with are delightful, and like my coworkers are very professional and fine. But when you're working behind a bar, like people are just drunk and they don't care.
Yes.
So it was just in my head. I knew I didn't want to be the friendly bartender. I didn't want to be the girl that was super friendly. Most of the regular guests that came in didn't really know how to get a read on me. I liked to keep it that way because the other girls were just having these situations where I came in where I was like, oh, I'm not going to let that happen to me. Like, I'm not going to feel unsafe walking to my car. I'm going to make sure that people know what's up, and that if they try me, they're going to like know. I was very, I kept telling everyone, I'm like, you love me outside of work, I promise. Right. But right now, I was like, I'm working and I don't want to think one of you guys are going to like follow me to the bar. And I remember the parking lot from the bar, but because that happened to one of the girls we work with, she ended up getting like followed and it was like a whole thing. It was, she's fine, but it was just not an enjoyable experience. And there was ways to avoid it. And she was just friendly. She was just nice. And, you know, like sometimes that just like goes really far with some people. And I remember on my last night, I was in such a good mood and one of the men at the bar wouldn't leave and they had to be like escorted out at like 1 a.m. because they wouldn't leave. And then on my last night, someone had to walk me to my car. I'm like, dude, I made it till my last day having to have this happen, and it's because I was in a good mood today. That's why this is happening.
Wow.
You know, it's like, and that was the only time it happened. It was the only time I had to deal with that. And I'm like, it's because I was friendly.
And you were friendly, exactly.
It's because I was being nice, and they just totally took it the wrong way. I'm like, man, it's just you gotta. I don't know. You have to be smart in situations like that.
I know it's so wild because it's like just the fuck. That's just it's just wild because that means that there's such a division. There's like, again, this lack of trust. You're looking, because we all got dads and uncles and cousins and stuff around, so brothers. We're all just looking around like, which one? Which one are you are the fucking weirdos? Or just like, what, like, because one of you motherfuckers is weird. Like someone in here.
Yeah. But it's everyone, there's different adversities that people fight. And I would say that like as a woman, it's I don't say that I walk away from like my day to day where I'm having these like awful conversations with men all the time. I'm actually having a delightful podcast conversation right now, so it's fine. Like, you know, it's just you got to keep your guard up sometimes. But I would just where was I going with that? Let me think. I lost my train of thought after I said that. Yeah, I don't know. I just think it's one of those things where you go through life and you meet people in the world, and whether it's a man or a woman, like you just find reasons not to trust people, and then you get to, find like that you're, I think that's the point. So then you find that one person, or you find like that small group of people who do respect you and do like have a mutual trust with, and it's just, I think it's just a part of being in this like really fucked up world. You know what I mean? So it's not that I don't think that men are like exempt from like having experiences like that as well, of having experiences where they've like mistrusted the wrong person or something. I just think the statistic is getting higher, and so that's why I understand why
it's the violent nature behind men, because one would use the word harassed many times in the service industry by women, especially older women, you know what I mean? Especially in a luxury place, you know what I mean? Wild things that like if the shoe was on the other foot and it was a dude that said it, they would have had to hang that motherfucker.
And I've had that happen at the bar too, where women are coming on in a way that makes me uncomfortable, and I'm like, but this wouldn't even be happening if it was a man. They would have been out the door like 5 minutes ago.
But and I used to think that was a double standard that was uncalled for, but it's really not, because have I been harassed 1,000 times? Absolutely. In any one of those 1,000 times, have I felt in danger?
Yeah.
0 amount of times in that 1,000 times.
Yes.
0% did I think that someone was going to overpower me and make me do something I didn't want to do. You know what I mean? So like that double standard's one of those things where we just, like, as a dude, you just gotta let that go and be like, y'all got that.
And on the opposing side of you saying, like, I when I am around some of these men and the statistics getting higher, I don't know who that person is. I don't know if I'm supposed, you just start to question the people in your life when you hear something like that. Kind of in juxtaposition to that, the fact that 1 in 3 women have been like sexually harassed or like sexually violated. I'm one of 3 sisters, and I've never had something like that happen to me, but I look at it like, is there something that you guys haven't told me? Yeah. Like, there are 3 of us. Have any of you had that experience? Because I haven't. So one of us has to be a part of that statistic.
I just hung out with a friend, and she told me, because she was the one that told me about the whole bear trend going on. And she had told me that, for the most part, like a very, very high percentage of the victims know the abuser, right? Like it's someone close to you, friend group, school, whatever the case is, family member. And her sister had been abused by her grandfather on her mom's side. And I think she said an uncle as well. And then that information at some point not had to, but I guess she felt comfortable enough putting that information out to her sister and their mom. So she's talking to her mom about her dad and being like, yeah, like your dad like molested me when I was in, having to have that conversation, and your mom's, trying to deal with that information. It's like, what are you talking about? Like, what? But then wild shit too is she said that ever since they were very young, there was like a very, very large emphasis of we never like rat out the family. Like we never tell on the family. We never hurt the family in any sort of way, no matter what anyone does, protect family. And that was just like very, very deeply rooted. And she said it wasn't until she was older and then learned about her sister going through this. She was like, were they just trying to like embed in our code to not tell? Because they kind of knew, like, to protect this old man, because they didn't want, the shame of the family, or, once that information gets out, and this person goes to jail or whatever happens.
You have to deal with it.
Yeah, then you have to deal with it. Exactly. I was like, yo, That's fucking deep.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
And it isn't even like dealing. It's like this should have been dealt with a long time ago. But then your mom's facing it like, oh, we're going to deal with this head on right now. Like, you know, and you're facing it like we're going to all acknowledge this. That's hard.
Yeah, that's tough. Yeah, man. So, yeah, definitely a wild fucking world out there.
Yeah, but I'd never, ever, even in playing women's basketball for as long as I did, I'd never experienced a class where I walked in and felt like so safe in that way. I'd never had a woman basketball coach, which looking back on, I think is really odd. I think I always had a man as a coach, which was, there was nothing wrong with that. But, you know, having a man as a coach, like men ruined my experience with it. You know, eventually it was male coaches. So like coming in and having women coaches who just approach things in a different manner and have a different coaching style, it was something just I'd never experienced before. And I always enjoy having a coach, and I do not care whether it's a guy or a girl. I just have always enjoyed having that person that's like that you have that mutual respect with, I will pay for that. I enjoy that. I can find the confidence on my own, but for some reason I just like someone yelling at me. It might just sound really weird.
Yeah. No.
I like someone holding me accountable.
Yeah, no, I absolutely get that.
Yeah.
A lot of people aren't good at doing that for themselves. And you know, the place, so I go to like a health club, maybe it would be called, but it's called Oak. They just got purchased by some other people, so they're turning it into Method Health Club. Great place. I love it in there. It's mostly older people. Very, very nice facility. Very clean. Very welcoming. They have some trainers in there, and when I watch these trainers versus the trainers I've seen at a little bit more of a commercial place like LA Fitness where I've been before, those were like a bunch of like dudes that didn't really seem to care about. Like, I would watch them as they were training like older people trying to clearly keep themselves from fucking dying. And they just didn't seem very enthused. Like they'd be, you know, scrolling on their phone. They're like looking around and stuff like that. But these trainers I see are really passionate about what it is that they do. And you, just like you see people get stronger. You see them get better. Like as the weeks go, you see like what the trainer's teaching them and sort of why. And just from afar, and you're like, man, like they're really teaching them some shit over there. Like that's really, really good movements. Like they're really, really good. And I think because I sort of act as that for her, because she would not be working as often as hard as she does if I was not there also working as hard as I am and being that. Like, here are different things that you can do. Here's what we're going to do and why we're going to do them. It can just be, it's just, there's just too many excuses that one can make. But when you have someone there and you're on their time, you can't just do whatever it is you want to do. And it makes it so much easier. And I think most people need some sort of incentive.
Yes.
Yeah, one day I was in there was a Canadian podcaster and like reformer of law that was walking around our facility asking if they could do some interviews with some people. And I guess her and I look very welcoming and open, so she came over. We clearly did the interview. We're very happy to do it. And what they're trying to do in Canada is get some law reformed so that people I think they either get some sort of kickback and they get some money at the end of the year for going to the gym like monthly, or it's just paid for. It's something like that, but they're trying to build some incentive inside of the law to get people to go to the gym and exercise, because they're calling it a movement epidemic. You know, it's just, as I was talking about with the gluteal amnesia, like people are they're moving the least amount they ever have in human history.
That's a problem.
You know, we just have a lot of shit. Like things are just very convenient. Like the couch is very convenient. All these things, it's very convenient. It is. You know, people don't want to sit down on a pallet. You know, like they're in Asia or something like that. But they have greater hips. They can sit up, put their legs in lotus and sit up. Like they just have stretchier hips. Our hips are all tight and shit like that because we don't get up and get down. Like or get down and get up as often as a lot of people do that just sit on the floor.
Yeah.
You know, that have little pallets and stuff like that. But yeah, people are legitimately, it's really turning into like a version of WALL-E. It's like the early stages of WALL-E, where you just have people. I mean, you see people. I mean, I'm not trying to make fun of anybody, but the people in the little fucking carts just moving around in Walmart or wherever, just, you know, driving themselves around. And it's a lot of people, you know, doing that. So yeah, people are definitely like losing function of their body, of all their muscles.
Yeah, I remember one of the guys at the bar. I was telling him how I think I was telling him how I was getting a new job, and it was going to be more of something that it's remote, and so I do get to just kind of sit. And I remember he made a comment where he was like, "Well, when you're sitting a lot, you start to gain weight." And I was like,
"Damn!"
I was like,
"That's wild."
I was like, "Should I not leave? Like, why are you saying that? Like, or." I don't know, but you could just tell that it really hit home. You could tell it really hit home for him.
No, he was definitely playing defense for sure.
Well, he definitely sat a lot and wanted me to know. I think that's where he was coming from.
Oh, he may have just
he was
been
saying from experience.
Yeah, he's like, hey man, don't do it. Yeah. Don't go down this way. Trust me.
Like, I'm pretty excited about it, but
yeah.
But he just made a comment where it's not that gaining or losing weight matters, but I think it's like putting people in a seat and people are staying. Like, people are getting stuck.
Yes,
because they're not using their body properly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's something. I'll never forget. I was at work one day, and the story didn't even matter that I heard being told. It was just one thing that was said. It was like some sommelier in training that was talking to the head chef, and she was saying something to him about how she needed to do something with her life, and she was gonna, start doing something differently. And he was like, "Oh, it's not gonna happen." And she was like, what do you mean it's not going to happen? And he was just like, that's a lifestyle change. It's not going to happen. Like, you would have to change your life in order for you to do that. And just the assuredness in which he said it. First of all, it was a dick move.
That's so funny.
But there's such great truth in it, because a lot of the times, I heard this really great quote from Will Smith, the other day, but it was just like, being great, and that means a lot of different things to people, but is very simple, but it's not easy. Mm-hmm. And that shit hit home for me, because I completely understand what the fuck he's talking about. Like, we have information at the tips of our fingers at all moments in time. You can look up a video, you can look up a class, you can read a book. Like, the information's there. We know shit. It's simple on how to do things, but it's not necessarily easy to get yourself to do those things.
Yeah, isn't.
So when you live a more sedentary lifestyle, like you're sitting around most of the time, whether it be due to your job or the commute that you have to take to get places or whatever the case. I mean, people that drive around 8, 9, 10 hours a day doing Uber and Uber Eats and Lyft and all these other things, you're still just sitting down for a long period of time.
Mm-hmm.
You have to incorporate in some way, shape, or form, like, the movement part. Like, where does that come from? And people take that away. So when I say we have too many things, that's where the WALL-E metaphor comes in. We're just so damn comfortable that I park my car in the garage, right, where they tell me to. I do that. I know. I'm specced out. I park on the fourth level. I really do it. I really do it. But I also enjoy going up and down the stairs. Now some people that do that, they take the elevator. So that's just one more time in your life. So it's like, even if you weren't going to try to go to the gym or like learn calisthenics and sit at the house or go outside and exercise, that's my new favorite thing to do. I've been outside for like 60 days, just exercising every single day. It's nice outside. And it's just been nice for a really long time, every single morning. So you just keep taking things away one by one. And it's like, okay, I'm not going to exercise. I'm not going to take those stairs. I'm going to take this elevator instead. Mm-hmm. I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to do that. And like, you slowly just start taking every little thing away that would have been an ounce of exercise, just like something. And then now you're just left with sitting most of the time.
That is a good
It's
point.
wild.
That is.
It's wild.
It is. That is a crazy concept. It's true too. I mean, before, obviously, I was working on my feet, but I did recently start a virtual job, and I feel like I can already feel, like, I was talking to my mom the other day, I was like, should I get a dog? Like, I was like, just having a virtual job, I was like, I don't know what to do. Like, I can't sit in this silence all day at my house. Like, it's hard. It's definitely it's not a learning curve. That's not the part of the job that's a learning curve, but it's an adaptation now to my life that I'm making compared to being on my feet for like 8 to 10 hours.
Yeah, for sure.
That was also a bit excessive, but still.
So she was also, Valerie, her and I were working at the resort together, left there clearly in a fiery blaze inferno, by the way. I should tell you about how that happened. Anyway, they heard a pod episode.
They
heard a pod episode, like everyone at the resort. It wasn't very nice. We weren't necessarily saying nice things, but we were on our way out anyway.
Shout out to the podcast.
Yeah, so we were just like, man, whatever. And supposedly like everyone all up the ladder.
Well, like, it's a restaurant. It's things like that spread like wildfire in hospitality.
So they called up and was like, don't bring your asses back here. Like, after that, I'm sorry. We just listened to the whole 3-hour podcast.
Oh my gosh.
That
is
crazy.
Hilarious.
But she left there. I went straight into Coastal, right? She went into a medical spa or something like that. She was a receptionist. So she took that job. And she sat down and stayed her ass in a seat for like 8 hours a day. And she said at some point, I think it was like maybe a month in, possibly a month and a half, she just started, was starting to go crazy. She was like, there's only but so much like getting up and dusting things off and like rearranging stuff and taking out trash like that you can do in a small facility. So then at some point, when business isn't just coming in and calls aren't coming in, you're just sitting there trying to find articles to read or do whatever, but you're doing most of it sitting down. And she said she felt like she was in one of those moments in a movie where there's like a single person and then everything around them is just like in fast pace, just like life just going past you, just things happening and you're just sitting in the same place while all of it happens. Yeah, like life wasting away. Like she said that she just felt that and was like, what the fuck was going on? And she would start to feel numb in her lower half.
Yeah, I already have a hard time with like my IT band when I sit too long. I gotta stretch that. But
you use massage guns?
I don't, but I used to when they were provided. No, but I don't know if I'd buy a personal one.
Understood.
But I have used, like, I used to ice water bottles, and I would use, like, a tennis ball and just sit there. But I've been noticing it recently, and I'm like, maybe I have been sitting in my chair now for, like, 2 or 3 weeks. Because I do that. But I, like, move around my house because I just can't stay still. So I start the day at, like, in a little loft, and then I'm, like, by the end of the day, I'm outside because I have to take breaks and, like, move around the house. So it does make it easier, and there's also not people. But the isolation is starting to sit in again. I told you I'm actually considering getting a dog. Like, I don't know what to do with myself now.
You just need like another spirit around.
I just need something there to talk to. Like, I can't.
That's so funny.
I've been really considering.
Do you feel like you're in a space like to have a dog and like that be?
I do. I would need a smaller dog because it wouldn't be responsible of me to get like a large dog. I'm probably in a space that's about as big as what we're in right now.
Yeah. That's
so, but something small, like a cat dog,
Or like a cat dog.
Like a cat dog, one of those little. But I don't think I can anytime soon. Me and my mom live together right now, so she wouldn't be okay with that.
Yeah, because that dog needs like some space. I got one, like if I got a dog, I would definitely want the dog to have like some space.
But I think about it, and I think about like I am
especially
crazy.
Outdoor.
I take like at least 2 walks a day.
Oh, okay,
I'm
that's
like walking myself. I'm
like,
why don't I have a dog?
Like summer evening walks.
Oh,
fire,
the best,
fire.
And I'm like, why don't I have a dog on this walk with me? It's just I find myself finding excuses to go outside, but then the fall comes and then the winter comes and then you don't want to take a dog outside. So it's something that it's just a brainstorming idea, but I wouldn't irresponsibly get a dog. Not yet.
The outside element is one. I believe that I don't even know if this is refutable, but it's built into us as humans, as animals. Like just being outdoors does something to us.
Yes,
and we feel drawn to it. And we love our phones and all this technology. And I'm not even the people that really, really love it. If you transport them somewhere that is just like awfully beautiful, they're gonna just like get connected to it. Like if they're just like standing in front of a waterfall or like looking off the edge of a cliff at a mountain summit or something. Like regardless of how much you love Instagram or anything, you're going to look at that and just be like, wow.
No, yeah.
This is really
That's like
nice.
that was my whole experience in Hawaii.
Oh, yes.
Was just waking up and being like, I can't believe that this place exists.
I don't think I got to tell you that her and I went to Lahaina, Maui in last April.
So you really felt for them. You felt for I'd never seen the city.
I was
You felt for them.
We were looking
That was sad.
Because we only went like 3 months prior to it happening. So we were looking at photos of just the scorched earth. It was like, yo,
it's so sad.
We were standing at that acai bowl shop right there. Like we went to go whale watching right at that dock there. Like,
I mean, it's a popular, it's a destination spot.
Yeah, it was fucking crazy.
It was so sad.
So yeah, definitely. It was a weird. That was a weird time.
I left the week that happened. I was on Oahu. I wasn't on Maui. But I think people here that have like never been to Hawaii, it's hard for them to like conceptualize. Like they all thought that I was in the fire. And I was home. I was like in Virginia. Well, it was like 2 days after I moved off island. So I was getting texts from my grandma. Wow. And she was like, are you okay?
She was like,
Nana, I'm home. I'll probably see you soon.
Yeah, like not only am I home, but like the fire was a very specific place. Like it wasn't all of the islands.
Yeah, it was the same when I tried to explain when the volcano exploded. I was like, I'm not on that island. It's not near me. I saw a little bit of smoke. Like maybe a little bit.
Them not knowing which island you're on is hilarious.
It's hard to, I understand because I don't think, I know myself and I empathize with them because if I hadn't moved there, I would not know what the heck anybody was talking about. So.
No. I wouldn't know, and I don't know all the islands, but if a family member of mine moved to an island, I would know which island they're on.
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
that's what I mean.
Yeah. No, that's true.
But no, when we were there,
it's amazing.
Oh my God.
It's the best.
Oh my God. I remember everything. First of all, it was just last year, so I definitely remember it. But I mean, what can you say?
I know.
What can you say? I know. It's the small things. I remember we were like 6 days in and I was driving and I was like, Vama, have you realized that like we haven't heard one person honk their horn while we've been here in traffic? Like, everyone's been extremely cooperative on the roads.
Everyone's
like,
just
everywhere we were.
It's the aloha. It's the culture there. Everyone there is just so nice. Did you guys do the whole thing?
Oh yeah. The whole
Some
drive.
Some of those roads are really sketchy too. I'm surprised you didn't get honked at.
Oh no, they're definitely sketchy. And some people seem very, very comfortable going down those windy, like mountainous roads where a huge boulder could drop at some
and you
moment.
Like can't see the other road. Like,
and the only thing on the other side is just cliff and ocean. Yeah. It gets sketchy, but
it was the best. And it was one of those places where I was like, screw my phone. I don't need this. Or when you're surfing and you're just sitting out there and there's nothing. It's just you. And you're like, this is just the best. Like, who needs that stuff?
I literally saw a chick just like sitting up, sunset, sitting up in a tree, like smoking a joint. I was like, that's awesome. I was just looking at
everyone though. You're just looking around in Hawaii, unless you're like in a very touristy area, then you'll see like the little parents like fighting with their kids and stuff, and that's like normal, you know. But then you get to like some of the more local parts of the island, and you just see the lives that people are living every day. And you're like, wow, like that dog just doesn't know how good he has it. Or I remember looking at like a naked baby running on the beach, and I was like, that baby does not know what's going on right now, and he just doesn't know how good this is. Like. Life is good.
I found a couple new favorite things there. Like I I never had pog juice, which is something that like you can only get in that area, or like Florida, still kind of equator-ish, you know, so people have their guava, passion fruit, orange juice, whatever. Best. All the acai bowls were better than all the acai bowls that I've had here, I will say. Favorite thing. I found a favorite sound. I didn't know. Sound? Yeah, I came across, and I have it recorded. I'll let you listen to it, but so I was at a rock beach.
Okay.
And it's the sound of a wave coming in, and then when it recedes, it drags rocks over top of rocks.
That is beautiful.
Oh, that sound is so satisfying.
That is so nice.
It's such a nice sound.
There used to be a beach by the house that we lived at where it wasn't a beach, it was just a cliff, and it was called Spitting Caves because when the water would go in, it would like spit out of the top of it.
Oh, shit.
It was just the coolest thing to watch every single night because the sun would set on that side of the island, and so you would just get to like watch the whole thing, and there's like mist in the air because it's like spitting out of the caves. It's just it was the best. I just look back on that. Anyone that needs a reset should just do something like that. Just get out of their comfort zone. It doesn't need to be Hawaii, but just somewhere warm and green. Just with some close body of water. It's just so therapeutic. It was such a great experience.
Yeah, that's what I say about this. So, I mean, to that point, and kind of to all this stuff we've been talking about, the outside element, I've always known that it just makes us happier. Mm-hmm. If you work at a restaurant, there's a huge difference between the guest experience inside the restaurant and the guest experience out on a patio or a terrace or whatever it is you have. The people are different.
Yeah.
They're wearing different things. Like they came dressed to sit outside somewhere.
They're drinking.
It's just a whole different vibe. I love hiking.
Mm-hmm.
I don't go out hiking and just meet rude ass people on the trail.
No.
Like people go out fishing. People come over, they start asking you questions. People start talking. People will trade you fish. Like people will do. I mean, I'm not a fisher, but I've heard these stories through friends as far as the fishing goes. But when people get outside, they're in their best element. Like you're mostly gonna find people having a good time.
Oh yeah.
When that's the case. So if you can just get outside, because maybe your circumstances don't allow for you to take a trip right now for whatever reason, right?
Oh yeah.
Money's tight, you got responsibilities out the ass, then you can't make that trip. Just getting outside and doing stuff it just changes the quality of your day. Like if you like to read a book, try reading a book outside for 30 minutes or however long you're going to read the book. If you like exercising, try exercising outside for a little bit. Just pulling a mat out and just sitting out in the field and stretching or do whatever. Just that sun and breeze coming by and fucking birds chirping and kids off in the distance playing and screaming and doing whatever it is they do. All that gives such a qualitative difference to the fabric of one's experience.
It really does.
It's beautiful.
It's great.
Love doing anything outside.
I love being outside. Although the pollen here is a problem. I get that bad when I'm here. I'm still in school right now, so I have a math class in the morning, and like everybody in the class, like I chronically interrupt the class because I'm just like sneezing the entire time because it's when I wake up. And I didn't experience that when I was living somewhere else. So when I came home and I woke up and my eyes were like swollen shut, I was like, oh gosh, I gotta start taking Claritin. It's really bad. Apparently though, there was an issue around here where I guess like 20 or 30 years ago, people planted only male trees. So now that those trees are adults and blooming, I guess they can't pollinate the same way that they're supposed to because they didn't pollinate female trees. So it's causing like a crazy pollen outbreak this year.
Yo, look at what's going on. We got gluteal amnesia. We got pollen outbreaks. pretty certain the election's coming up sometime.
Oh God,
there's just so many things.
We don't have to talk about
Yeah, right. There's like a war happening right now.
Oh my gosh,
it is so wild. And I'm over here.
But I do love being outside.
Syndrome.
I do love being outside.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Not to be a whiner. I just recently discovered that we needed female trees, and I thought that. I don't know why I didn't take that into consideration, that they had genders. Like, that actually makes sense.
Yeah, like, we need some.
Maybe we need to plant some female trees. Like, now that you're saying that. Like, who planted all the male trees? I don't know, but it was like a recent statistic that I saw, because I'm really into the whole having an allergy right now. So I'm trying to learn more about it.
Do you supplement at all? Like, do you take any sort of supplement, like low nutrients, low vitamins?
I take I did what I thought I was supposed to do, and I started taking Claritin like late February, because I was like, oh, it'll probably hit around March, that's when it's going to start. And now that like just summer's in full swing, it's just been like the worst. The Claritin's just not going to do anything.
Were you supposed to build up? What does Claritin do exactly?
Claritin is like, I don't know, I think it's also similar. I don't know if you know Zyrtec as well, but it's just something I think you're supposed to take. I think it's an antihistamine, and it's just supposed to help with the allergies. But I guess if you take it over a period of time, I know in past years when I was in high school, I didn't do that, and it just wouldn't do anything because it wasn't already in there when the allergy season started. So it wasn't doing anything, and I had to do other things to like replace that. Like, I had to do like the whole nasal spray and stuff. I haven't gotten there yet, but if I keep interrupting my class, I might have to get a nasal spray again.
Yeah, I didn't grow up with too much. They didn't have too much of the over-the-counter stuff in my house.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't either. My parents, like, I would break my arm, and they'd be like, you can have half of an Advil. And I was like, okay.
Damn, they were trying to keep you off of that.
They did not like that
I wonder,
stuff.
did they... You can have half... cutting an Advil in half is fucking hilarious. Wait a minute. What is their understanding, or like what are they?
I don't know.
You just don't know. They're just like, we're not doing that.
I know that they always believe that it gave people stomach ulcers, and that is like a known fact that if you take Advil for a long period of time, it can give you stomach ulcers. But I think I don't think I hurt myself enough where it would have mattered. Like, I think it was probably always appropriate times that I was asking for Advil. But I don't know. My parents were always really weird about us taking medication. It always had to be for a pretty good reason.
Yeah, I think we had the same thing.
Yeah, not that they wouldn't take us to the doctor. I do remember one time, though, I did fracture my arm, and my parents waited like a day to take me because they were like, let's see if she really fractured. Like, let's give her an Advil this time and see if she really fractured her arm. But they took me like the next day. It was fine.
Oh, that's funny as hell. Let's take her next.
Well, I wasn't. I had a pretty high pain tolerance too, so I don't think I was reacting the way that they were like, maybe your arm's not broken, and then they went in and it was, in fact, broken.
Damn, that's crazy.
Yeah.
I knew a guy. Sometimes you just, I think sometimes it's just I guess it's just best. I am not also the best spokesperson for this because I don't go to the doctor often, but I do know a guy. I think this was like 2 years ago, maybe. At this point, maybe like a year and a half. Got in a car accident, a little banged up. He felt like his ribs were a little hurt. I think he was bruised or something like that. And I'm hearing this story from a friend of mine that talked to him, that worked with him. And I think they were having a discussion on the phone. My friend had called him or whatever. And he was like, oh, yeah, man, I actually got in a car accident today. And he was like, yo, you all right? He was like, yeah, I got like a bruised rib, but like I'm all right. He was like, you should probably go to a hospital, man. He was like, nah, I'm a little banged up, but like it's really not that deep. He was like, all right, well, I guess I'll see you at work tomorrow or whatever. That motherfucker did not go to work.
Oh no,
he died that night.
Oh my gosh,
because the rib that he felt like was just bruised had actually broken. It snapped. And it had punctured something like an internal organ, and he was bleeding out on the inside and did not know. Well,
if you get into a car accident too, I do know that there's it sets in. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I know people, obviously people can have like abrupt injury, which it sounds like he did. It sounds like he had, but when things like that set in, you start to realize like, wow, my neck is killing me, or you realize that like your elbow isn't feeling right. And so like, I understand in the beginning, maybe with like an adrenaline high too, because you just got into a car accident.
Right.
Like not fully having that set in yet, but you should always see a doctor if you get into any if it's more than a fender bender, you should go see a doctor.
Yeah. Yeah, I've been so blessed. I've been so lucky.
I've never been in a car accident. That's only from people telling me.
Yeah.
Thank the Lord, knock on wood.
Yeah, seriously. Because
I know that's so unfortunate.
This is wood. This is plastic under here. You might want to redo that. There you go.
Just a tiny one.
Yeah, because people out there, they're crazy.
Yeah.
It's wild.
Yeah. And around here wild. Too.
Yeah.
People are not smart.
Yeah, it's I guess it's like a level of intelligence, but it's like emotional. Like it's an emotional intelligence because people are just very like emotionally irrational. And like you will do something that just only further puts so many other people in danger because like maybe something happened that you didn't like. Right? Somebody cut you off, now it's time, now it's on. Now it's time for you. Like, I know people. Matter of fact.
What? You're scaring me.
It's just funny because the person I'm thinking about has the same name as you.
Oh, my gosh.
But they told me she's so funny. But she is absolutely, like, driven people down, like, after being cut off or something like that. Like, just, like, now you're on the road and, like, that road rage is real. Like, you're like, no, this isn't done yet. And you drive up next to them and then you go try to cut them off. And I'm like, yo, I can't. Like, I see people on the street sometimes just doing wild things, just like coming up and cutting over because there's a car in front of them that they're pulling up on, and you're also to the right of them. So then they cut like right over with like an inch of space to spare. And you're just like, wow, you feel like you're that comfortable in that car making those decisions. That's wild to me.
Yeah.
That's very, very wild.
It's scary.
Yeah.
I remember when I was learning how to drive, this will probably say a lot about my dad, but when he was teaching me how to drive, I remember he started and he was like, okay, first, the left one, don't put your foot on it. We're not doing that today. Like, I remember him being like, we're not doing that today. Just take your foot off of the other one, but don't put your foot on the gas. But I remember him like panning out and just telling me, just remember, everyone around you is dumber than you. And I was like 16 and I was like, okay. And I remember telling my mom that my dad told me that. She was like, all right, I guess that will work.
Yeah.
But I remember telling my friends that casually, just remember everyone's dumber than you. And they thought that I was such, but it's also, if you go in with the assumption that the person next to you is just like really dumb and it's coming from a place of protecting yourself. I don't think he was wrong. I just think he has a really skewed outlook.
No, that's why what your mom said also works. She was like, well, that works.
Yeah.
Like that's going to get the job done. Yeah, it's going to get the job done on the road. Yeah. Because it's going to get you to do what it is we need you to do, which is be on a constant lookout of just constant lookout of what other people are doing. I got a friend, speaking of the pain settling in, that was, I think him and I lived together at the time. Maybe not. But he was at a stoplight. His now fiance was in the car with him. They were just at a red light hanging out. And funny enough, she, like 10 seconds before this incident, she was like, you should put on your seatbelt. Because he was driving without a seatbelt on.
God.
Which he just did as a practice. And I think he still does because he's an idiot. And I'm just like, so you're telling me that you just drive and turn up the music so much that like just to blare out the constant beeping that your car is trying to tell you that you don't have a seatbelt on? Because like you have to drive whole distances while this bing, bing, bing is going off. Like you're doing that? Like why don't you put the fucking...
He's like, what's
you're
that
an
noise
adult.
for?
Put the fucking seatbelt on. Anyway, that's like adults that like don't drink water. I think the same thing. Like, for people that are adults that don't drink water or don't put their seatbelt on, it's like, what are you doing? Like, what are you trying to do here?
Yeah.
What are you trying to prove? Put the fucking thing on.
That's so funny.
Anywho, he was just sitting there and boom, just smashed into the back of him. Some dude drunk driving, wasn't looking, and just smashed into him at a red light. And then it wasn't until like a couple days later, he said his fucking back and his neck were cranking. He was like, what the fuck? This is crazy.
It takes a few days.
Yeah, that was pretty wild. I also know another friend that was, I think, T-boned in the middle of an intersection. She clearly was going, it was red light. Car just slammed into her. She was banged up. I think she needed crutches, and I think like she broke something in that. and dude got out of his car and ran over to her. There's glass everywhere and fucking smoke and shit like that. And he's just, I'm so sorry. Are you okay? I'm so sorry. I was daydreaming.
Oh.
I was like, you told her the truth? Because that means you had to tell the police the truth too. You already said it. Like, you came out of the car and you didn't even want to think of a lie. Like,
I think I would do something like that.
I was daydreaming. Like, what?
I would do something.
What?
Like that.
I'm about to go to the hospital.
In moments like that, I just don't know if I could lie.
Yeah,
like, I'm the kind of person where if I got pulled over, the cop would come over. I'd be like, "I'm sorry," and they'd be like, "Okay, well, now you're getting a ticket."
Yeah. You
like,
do. I mean, you do got to start with. I get it. I get that.
Yeah, I've done that before. It's been a few years, but they've walked over and I'd be like, "I'm so sorry." And they're like, "Well, now we have to give you a ticket because you think you did something wrong," and you did. Like, I just like completely owned it. So I not that I'm like T-boning anyone, but I think I'd walk over and be like, "I'm so sorry." Just tell them the truth. And
any encounter I have with the police is extremely civil. I keep words at a minimum. I'm just like, you got me. Yeah.
It's probably better. I've definitely learned my lesson. I haven't had a lot of like run-ins in those situations though, so that's why I think I act the way I do, because it happens it's so rare that when it does, I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm just not in my element right now. I'm actually obsessed right now with watching the body cam videos of police officers on TikTok. It's like a weird phase that I'm going through.
Tell me about it. Why is it so intriguing?
I think it's because like, I have never been in a situation where I've potentially been arrested or like I've just never even.
Well, that's good. That's
it's
phenomenal.
never happened where it's even questioned I'm going to get arrested. So it's never really like crossed my mind, and that I am very blessed to be in a situation like that where I haven't had that happen. So when I'm watching these videos and the people are talking to the cops like they're not going to get arrested, when you know at the end of the video they are. You know at the end of the video the cop's going to arrest them.
Yes.
I'm just watching them like, oh my gosh, I wouldn't even talk to a person like that, let alone a police officer who's like, the police officers will pull up to the cars and the woman won't even roll down her window. He's like, man, we just have to write an accident report because you just hit a car and ran and we all saw you do it. So we need to write an accident report. And she's like screaming at the cop, and then they end up having to like arrest her. I'm like, oh, every time it's for something like, they don't show all of them, but it's always someone that's acting just so irrational.
Yeah.
And the cop is like, ma'am, I'm going to have to arrest you. Like, I got to give you like 10 seconds. I just want to give you a warning. I'm probably going to have to arrest you. And then they have to, because they're like trying to explain. And the person just keeps circling around. They're like, I'm going to arrest you. I just want you to know.
Calmly telling someone that you now have been put in a situation where you have to arrest them because they're being an idiot.
I know.
It's like, ma'am, I'm really sorry about this.
I've been fixated.
Now I'm going to I wanted to leave this situation but now I have to detain you.
I know, it's the worst, like every time, and or they'll come in today I watched one, it was the morning, and they were just asking the lady to leave Walmart and they had to end up telling her she was trespassing because the employees were telling her to leave, and she just wouldn't, and she was with her mom. And her mom was like, please, like, can we just leave? And they ended up arresting her daughter. I was like, for not leaving Walmart, like, oh my God.
The level of entitlement that people have is fascinating. I'll tell you a story the other day. So I'm at work, and do you know the table numbers?
Yes.
You do? Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know if you served or if it matters to you to know them.
I served a while ago.
Okay. So just to give you perspective, no one's going to know what this means, but I was at table 74.
Uh-huh.
Okay. Two people, two top.
Mm-hmm.
It was a man. It was two. This is so funny to me because this is the first time this has ever happened to me, and I've been in the service industry for a long time.
Uh-huh.
Two men. One of them is probably low 40s.
Mm-hmm.
The other one, who seemed to be his father, was like in his 60s or so, but still coherent and things like that. I don't just if I have to say that 60, but yeah, he was fine.
Okay.
Got their food. They've been decently pleasant, no issues. It's time to pay. Now, they're Middle Eastern, so and they're two men, so they're both going to try to pay.
Yes.
Violently.
Yes. Yes.
So I'm walking over to the table, and the one that would be seat 4, all right, so on the right side, He's the younger guy. He's the son. He pulls his credit card out first with the bill, puts it up in the air. As far as I am concerned, as a server, because just in case people don't understand this, the first person to pull their credit card out is that's the credit card I'm taking.
It's policy.
I cannot now say, no, sorry, I'm going to choose this other person, even though you were no. All right, I'm taking that one. So if you get beat out there, people at the restaurant, you get beat with the credit card draw, you get beat.
Yeah.
He pulled his credit card out, put it up in the air. The father immediately tries to swat it down. He's trying to get it out of the air. It's very violent. It's like they're like a swarm of wasps or something. Like he's like trying to swat.
It's a big deal.
Right. I grabbed the credit card out of the air along with a slip of paper. And I immediately turned to my left because I'm about to go on and continue to do some other shit. There's another table I need to greet right next to him, adjacent to them. So I'm like, oh, cool. So I'm literally turning. I'm making eye contact with the lady that I'm about to go speak to. Right? It's like a, maybe late 20s, early 30s woman with her boyfriend. I'm getting ready. She's looking at me. I'm looking at her. And as I turn with the credit card in my hand, I just hear this hand forcefully grab my wrist. And she's looking at me and I'm looking at her. And I turn back over and this old man has his arm because he's sitting down. So his arm is up in the air, like straight above him like this, holding my wrist. And he's trying to pull me back over to the table because I've already taken like a step away. So his arm is straight up in the air. I'm a pretty calm person. I'm not too worried about the situation at all. So the entitlement of it, I know I'm already going to have a great story as soon as I feel this. I'm like, man, this is going to be an amazing story to tell.
Oh my God.
Like, this is so funny that this gentleman feels so comfortable doing this, because doing this move in any situation to another man, in any situation, right, especially like outside of a restaurant, because inside of a restaurant, it still is socially incorrect. But outside, if you were to grab a man's wrist on the street, you can, as another man, expect to fight. Yeah. You can just expect it. It doesn't necessarily have to happen. But if you are going to grab another man's wrist, you should absolutely be ready to fight. It's like when people say if you pull a gun, you should be ready to pull the trigger as well. Like, they're like, don't pull a gun and don't be about that. Because if you pull a gun on someone, and you're not pulling it out for a reason to like protect yourself or your family's lives or something like that, and you're not really going to pull the trigger, there's a chance they have a gun on them and they'll pull it out, and they're about that because they feel threatened now, and they will shoot you. Or someone else, a friend of theirs might pop up and see you with a gun pointed at them, and they will shoot you. So you need to be ready for action if you're calling for action. His hand is straight up in the air holding my arm. I just simply pull it back. I'm still looking at the lady. I like look back at his arm and I'm looking at her, and I just pull his arm backwards. So now his arm is behind him. This is an older gentleman. His shoulder's absolutely sore the next day. I'm certain of it. And as it gets far enough back where he's just struggling just to still have an arm, I then yank my wrist from his hand. And I walk over and I talk to the lady and ask them if there are any drinks that I can get for them while they get settled in with the menu. I take their drink order, keep walking. I go run that credit card that the son gave me. I walk back over and I just drop the credit card on the table with the slip, and I walk away. You're so much more professional than me. They said nothing to me. They didn't say a word. He tipped me regularly, I guess. Oh my gosh. I wonder if that son had seen his father do things like that, if he was embarrassed by it or what, because neither one of them said a word to me when I came back there. I wonder if the father was like, fuck, like, I wonder if he came to after I sort of pulled my arm away. If he was like, fuck, like I kind of just did, this is an awkward situation. Maybe like, they didn't even talk about it. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Maybe they didn't even talk about it. Because when I got back, they weren't even having a discussion. That is very weird. If I had done that with someone, I'd be in the middle of a discussion with them. Like if I went out with someone and they did that. If I went out with someone and they did it, like when the waiter got back, I'd be having a discussion with not only them, but then I'd say to the waiter, like, yo, wait, I'm so sorry, please, excuse me, can you talk? I'd be trying to facilitate some sort of apology or some sort of. Oh my gosh. Yeah, so I didn't even see any of that going on.
So crazy.
It was
people are crazy.
Very weird entitlement.
That is. People are insane.
Very, very weird.
I have people that fight with me like that. I had a specific group that would come in and they'd be like, Bella, you know me. Every time it was like a group of 4 people and every time all of them would fight. And it got to the point where I would just start telling them, I'd be like, okay, 2 of you against 2 of you, we're doing rock, paper, scissors.
At least make it fun.
I was like, best on one. They did not think it was funny, but I was like, you guys are making this. They were like late night guests. So I was like, you guys are making this hard. And then like they would start showing up early to get their cards in. They were nice about it, but they were all so serious. And I was like, I don't know what to do. All of you guys are standing here. And the first card I take, I have to run. I'm taking 1 card. So if I haven't taken any and there's 3 in front of my face, I'm like, you guys got to figure that out. Like, I don't know what to say.
Yeah. So my friend and I, that I also met through the service industry, him and I are starting up this other podcast, and it all revolves around like food and beverage, customer service, luxury.
Really?
Because my experience has just shown me that there is such a divide between customer service professionals and like guests that don't understand that world because they've never been a part of it. And there's just like a huge gap of understanding.
Yes.
Like, and people don't. I mean, how would you be educated on, restaurant etiquette between customer and unless your parents were just decent people and taught you things about how to treat people and what to do when you're out. If you don't have those people doing that, then there's no booklet. You don't learn it in school. Like, so you don't. You know what I mean? So,
and I tell people that I'm like, there's some serious character development that happens in the service industry, and you can tell with people when you meet people on a day-to-day basis who has had an experience like that before of being the person on the other side and who hasn't. It's very clear.
Yeah. But yeah, it's a very bizarre place, but you really see people have this it's like a weird relationship where people still feel like the people they're giving money to, right? The people that rely on their tips are like peasants.
Oh yeah,
and like you hold this money, you hold their rent money in your hand, in your pockets, right? And you can hold that over them in certain ways, and people do that, and then people in the industry feel that, and sometimes it makes them feel bad about what it is they do because they feel like they're begging on the street for money or something like that. And I've heard people, come in the back of the house and be like, "Yo, my table just said to me, yeah, could you please go ahead and clean all this up? I'm the one giving you your tip tonight."
Oh, yeah. I've had many people say things like that to me.
Bro.
Like, do you know who's giving you your tip? And I'm like, well, now I don't really care. I'm just not nice.
That's just such a... Wow. It's just... Wow.
It is crazy. And I think that it's crazy because I think that it's something that... I don't think that... Well, I haven't traveled outside of the country. But from what I've been told, with places that just pay servers and service workers like wages and they don't have to accept tips, there's not that weird line or that line that gets crossed because they're being paid wages. And they like, I know stories of people who have been to different countries in Asia and the workers chase them out with their tip because they're like, what are you doing? Why are you leaving this? Because they don't.
I've heard of that
that's
as well.
It's
not the custom.
The standard. Yeah, that's not what it is there. So I think it's a very weird concept that's been like socially accepted. That service workers, like it brings them down almost. It makes people think that they're an inferior.
Yeah.
And so they really use and abuse that.
Yeah, it's weird. It's definitely a thing of its own. Just relying on that money that way, and just hoping that people are going to take care of you. Places that don't have some sort of gratuity included and stuff like that, and you're just really just hoping that people do the right thing.
Yeah. Yeah. There was a while when I was working as a bartender that they recently changed the policy on this, but before, if the person walked out and didn't pay their tab, there was no like gratuity included in that. We would just like run the card that they gave us and that was it. I think they recently changed that when we got a new manager that it's a 20% gratuity now, but they also said that you have to take every single person's card, or if they leave, like, you do have to pay for it. And there were multiple occasions where I was paying out like $50 tabs when I was at the bar.
People walk out. Yeah, for sure. People walk out and take credit card receipts, like just every copy with them. The itemized receipt, the merchant copy, the customer copy. They take everything, and then you're just left. You have no.
I know.
You have no proof that they tipped you, so then you just zero, nothing, regardless of how much that fucking bill was.
Yeah.
Or somebody puts down some cash and it's not enough cash.
Yeah. And you're already paying the house 3%.
Then you have to pay that money. You know what I mean? And these are just so many things that people don't understand about the service industry. And I feel like, just some lessons and some. It's not even lessons on like what to do and not to do when you go out, right? But just bringing some insight to people on just how people do look at things within the service industry.
Yes.
And, just to give people a fighting chance at being a decent customer when they go out places.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's an amazing idea. Awesome. It's a bigger problem than I think people realize. Yeah. Unless you work or have worked in the service industry, I can't even imagine that you would know that exists.
Just the element of the whole peasant and nobility thing of just like throwing you some shillings, right? I mean, the way that people feel, so many people feel like it's so draining to work in customer service because you have to put on some act, right? You're putting on some act so that people like you, so that they tip you more. That's what a lot of people are doing. And a lot of people do not feel comfortable just being themselves and like, just existing, and also serving at the same time. They feel like they gotta play it up and do some shit or say things that the person in front of them likes, whether it be something about politics or religion or something, you know, that people bring up to you that's kind of like not socially the thing you really want to get into with your real views on it. So then you're like, okay, am I a Christian today? Or like, do I vote for this person today? Like, how am I going to talk to this person when this person is going to be the person that pays me? So you become a lot of different people sometimes, depending, you don't
match everyone's mold, you really don't. And I've had that happen as well.
But I imagine those places overseas we're talking about, how themselves they probably get to be, because they're like, look, you don't pay my bills. Like, this establishment pays me. So like, I can just be, as long as, like, I'm going to be decent to you because I'm a decent person. So, like, I'm going to have fun here.
In service.
Yeah, like, I'm going to be good to you, but I'm also not going to pretend to be like, hey, how are you today? Da, da, da. Oh, my gosh, he's such a cute little boy. I've never seen anyone so smart before. You're not going to do all of that. You're just going to be you, and you're going to get paid the same. Now, I do wonder, because with every solution comes its own problems, right? So I wonder, how well they've done over there, the service staff, with like the cost of living and whatever living wages. Because if they were to try to do that here, us working in this industry, we know
that would not work.
Yeah, we know that you have the possibility of walking out $40 an hour, $35 an hour, $30. You could be anywhere between.
Solid,
yeah, you can do that solidly. But if we think that they're about to change the laws here and start paying us $35 an hour, or even, and it's not always that, but it's worth having the chance at getting that.
Yes.
Because if you just cap it at $18 an hour, then that's what you get every day. Right? As opposed to maybe you get $18 an hour as a server because you work this Tuesday or you work this Thursday, but then like Saturday comes around, you make $30 an hour. This other day, Friday comes, you make, $35, $40 an hour.
Yeah.
That, I'd much rather that.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know if they're going to give that, you know what I mean?
I don't expect like there to be some sort of change like that, but I think restaurant to restaurant, I've definitely noticed that there are policies that restaurants can make that allow it to be easier for the service workers. But I do think I'm in the same mindset as you, where I entered the service industry here because I liked the hustle. Like, I liked the idea that like I can really work this, and if I work really hard and I work really fast, I can make a lot of money tonight. Like, I liked that. And if that didn't exist, my motivation would have just plummeted. Like my service would have been so bad, especially knowing the other side of it and knowing how much money I could be making. I would totally be like, screw this. But when I worked in Hawaii, I remember they had a time limit on how long you could sit at the tables. That helped a lot. If the party was bigger than 6, it was automatically a 20% gratuity. There were things that were put in place to ensure the server that you weren't getting like completely screwed. And I think sometimes you go to places that don't really care for things like that, or there's not those like little details where you do one day end up getting like some women that are going to die in that booth. They're not getting up. Like you're like, I'm going to be here. I'm going to be the last person to leave this building tonight. Like you have to like mentally accept it, when I just don't think that has to be the case sometimes. I think that there's ways around that, and there doesn't need to be like a legislation change. I just think each restaurant could like take certain things like that into account. I know I've had situations like that where I just get campers and I'm like, well, guess I'm not making any money today. And you're the person that has a full section where no one will get up, you know? Yeah. And that's the worst feeling.
Yeah. People just do not take that stuff into consideration.
No. And also if I went somewhere and they didn't have a time limit on a table, I might not. I might not care either. But if they're like, you got 2 hours, then I have to find the next thing to do. And that's also appropriate. And I don't think a restaurant's like asking too much.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, there's certain places like that do just fine. It's interesting when people don't put these things in place, you know, because then they're just like not putting people in their place. Like they're just allowing people to do whatever it is they want. And that is fascinating because I went to, with like a big group of people, went out to Korean barbecue recently. All you can eat, great. You have a 2-hour limit. Like, and no one's gonna not go there because of the 2-hour limit. You're like, that's fine. I can eat a lot in 2 hours. That's totally fine. I can have a good time in 2 hours. You know, and then we get the fuck out because we have to, and that's fine.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, I'm with you. More restaurants need to take some action. And I just think
sometimes too, like, don't get me wrong. When you are in the service industry, I have learned that the customer is most of the time right. They are always right. But I also remember when I worked at this place in Hawaii, it was a lot more laxed than not spec. That wasn't a thing. No. So I remember my first day, the hostess was like explaining to me what to do, and the family asked to move, and the hostess said no. The hostess said, "I'm sorry, this is the next server." And they just sat there, and that was it. And I guess if they got a lot of pushback, it would have been like, okay. But I started realizing, I was like, some people like don't take that farther when you tell them no, and you just can't offer them that right now. And it was like they're looking at the server's best interest in that situation, and I appreciated that when I started there. I was like, wow, this is so different. We're not saying yes. I'm like, this is crazy. We don't have to say yes to everything.
Yes.
Or if someone was just giving us a big fuss, we didn't have to serve them. We were like, you can go somewhere else. It seemed so black and white there and straightforward. And then when I came home, it was like Coastal Flats just seemed to have a lot of like gray area. In that, where it was like, well, what were the circumstances with the customer? How many drinks has the customer had? Like, it was like all these different things. And it was like, I just told you they were making me uncomfortable. Can you just ask them to leave?
That is because it's hard to try to speak about the amalgam of things that took place. But at the luxury resort I was at, that is one of the main things. I mean, it's a luxury. So I mean, I don't know what the fuck I was thinking taking a supervisor role. But but they get away with so much shit. The people that kick and scream and cry the most get the most. They get the free night stay. They get the, oh, I'm so sorry, you know what I mean? Let's get your little daughter on a pony ride. Let's free this, free whatever, free, let's get you in the spa. And that's what it breeds. It just breeds, I should be able to, you should do this for me.
It's like when a kid throws a temper tantrum and then if the parent says yes, they're like, oh, that's how I just get what I want. And I just throw a temper tantrum.
Yeah. And the thing is, for me, is like, I get it because you're spending so much money. So you're like, well, yes, I am entitled to this.
Yes.
Because I paid $3,000 to stay in that room last night, and I'm spending $20,000 over the course of this weekend to be here with my family or whatever. Like, so yes, I want things to be perfect. So I get that. I just don't need to be a part of it.
Yes.
That's what it was for me. I was like, this is not nearly important enough to me for me to want to be here and cater to these wealthy people's needs. I don't want to do that.
It's a lot. I've also like been on the other side of it where I've been in situations where I felt, it's not that I've thrown a temper tantrum, but I have felt valid in speaking my truth, whether it's at like a restaurant, because I'm a service worker, so I'm not ever gonna tip someone below 20%. But if I didn't think that they did a good job, like I might say something to them at the end. Not that they did a bad job, but it's just like, like server to server, like that was kind of weird. Or, I start to...
That was kind of weird.
I don't know. I have become a very like vocal person in that way. Yeah. Or I do know my sister has become a big review leaver. Big review leaver. She's like, they're going to talk about it later if I leave this review. It will come up. Because that's what they care about. Because that's not coming down.
You're right.
So if you're really, I tell my bar guests sometimes if they're really like unsatisfied with the patio not being open one day, or, they come in and they were like, last night, like at Aussie's, I really didn't like my experience. I'm like, put it on Google review. I'm like, put it on Yelp, because they don't listen to us. So if you put it on Yelp, like they're going to go to the worker and they're going to talk to the worker about it.
Yeah.
Because it's a big deal to leave a review. True. So I've kind of become a little bit of a review leaver. Like sometimes I'm like, you know what? You're getting paid. And I just empathize too much with servers to not do that. Like now I have to like tip my barista because I just empathize with the service industry a lot right now. It's just this time in my life. And I don't think that that's going to change with time.
One of the things that my friend and I, Uzima, his name is, that started the podcast with me, that we spoke about, is I think he used ChatGPT to bring up a long list of jobs that now in this day and age ask for a tip. And and it's a funny fucking list.
It's a lot of jobs.
So when you say that, I wonder, where you slowly start to draw the line of like, okay, it's like, okay, now you guys are asking for tips, like at the fucking Sweet Frog. Like it's self-serve frozen yogurt. I put the frozen yogurt in the cup. I decorate it with the gummy bears and the sprinkles and all the things I want. I weigh it, and then you press the button and tell me how much it is.
Yes.
And then you also ask for a tip.
Yes. That is very weird.
Maybe. Yeah. I can see an argument for it.
Well, on top of it, personally, I've worked in a coffee shop before, so I'm hoping that this is all across the board. I make this assumption, but I think that most places like Sweet Frog or like Starbucks, their workers are getting paid $15 to $17 an hour. Like that's appropriate minimum wage right now. And so for places like that are already offering, most servers in Virginia are getting paid $2.50 an hour to $3. So you take things like that into account as well, where I'm like, am I just adding where you're making $17 an hour today instead of $20 when like you're already getting paid above the minimum wage?
Yeah.
Compared to a service worker who is getting paid like astronomically lower than what the minimum wage is. I remember in Hawaii too, servers still got paid minimum wage. They still got paid, minimum wage there was $12, but they still got paid $12 an hour, which is huge.
For sure.
Being a server,
Absolutely.
But they also had to like...
Almost unheard of.
Well, they had to tip out, like they didn't have the 3% system, so they would tip out like 15% to the hostesses, 10% to the busboys, like a certain percentage of all their tips would go everywhere, but they were making it appropriate hourly. So it made sense. And it was probably about the same. Yeah. Like looking at the summers.
Yeah, it's just a bizarre system and a bizarre...
Yeah, but it is weird. It's like a frozen yogurt place to ask for tips, in my opinion, just because you're doing it. So that's a little... It gets and they are getting paid appropriate wage. Like it might be not what's ideal, but I don't know who's working at a Sweet Frog, but I know that like all my friends were doing that when I was a lifeguard in high school. So I'm hoping that someone who's looking to make a career isn't working at Sweet Frog. Like that's probably not the goal, but also like there's managers there and they make appropriate wages too. Like I'm just like, I don't know. I just don't know if that makes sense when you're already getting paid an appropriate hourly.
Are you oriented by, are you like career oriented?
I would say so.
Oh, okay.
I recently left because I just started a new job with like a tech company, so I'm working virtually right now. But I'm hoping something comes from that. I want a career.
Mm.
I'd hopefully one day work for myself. That's my goal. I just want to be my own boss.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I also just want to get paid to be myself. I always tell people that. I used to tell people that at the bar all the time. They're like, you are getting paid to be yourself. I'm like, this isn't like...
Yeah, it's like, like
know.
you don't know who you're talking to. Yeah.
We've met like once.
Yeah, I think it's sweet that you think that. Like,
yeah, but I really do want to get paid. And I just think that's like the ultimate version of getting paid to be yourself, is just getting to like work for yourself and then like getting to work with other people, but being yourself while getting to work with other people, you know? That's like the dream.
It does seem.
Doesn't it?
It does seem.
It just seems so easy.
It does seem to be the dream, yeah.
You know?
Yeah, well, you're not playing any corporate bullshit.
Yeah.
You're not having to tiptoe around things.
Yeah, I just don't. I don't want that. Yeah. I'm feeling that with my job right now too, because it's like the first time I'm not working. I think this is the first time I'm not working a hospitality job. When I think about it, that's crazy. But it is the first time I'm not working a hospitality job, so it's more just like collaborating with people, and I answer a lot of emails and stuff like that, you know, like customer service stuff. So it still kind of is like dealing with people, but it's just not, it's never gonna be what it was when I'm like working like truly in a bar, you know what I mean? Like, it's just a different kind of service.
It's a different energy. It's one of those things that's kind of timeless. It's a timeless job. They're only, especially in this whole technological advanced era we're going through right now, where AI and all this shit, robots and shits are popping up. Making the sex robots. Have you heard anything about the sex?
I have not.
The sex robots are coming, man. The sex robots.
They're gonna make that before like the flying shoes. I thought they would do that first, and they're gonna make the sex robot before that.
Sex comes before flying.
I don't. It was in Back to the Future.
Sex comes before. If you could get people. First of all, again, we're already talking about the sedentary lifestyle. If you could just get people, if you can elevate sex and bring it to their doorstep.
Oh my God, that's terrifying.
They don't have to go in. They don't have to meet anyone. They don't have to go anywhere. They don't have to deal with their anxiety speaking to other people or any of that. You just bring it to the house, right? There's food at the house. You got Uber Eats, whatever, DoorDash.
Oh my God.
Food's to the house. Sex is to the house.
That's insane.
The TV's at the house. I'm at the house.
Oh my gosh.
I'm at the house. Yes, that comes before the flying shoes.
Have you ever seen Black Mirror?
Yes.
I think that might have been that might have been a similar episode.
I'm certain of it.
Have you seen the episode? I don't remember the episode where the girl has like her fake boyfriend delivered as a robot to her house, and it looks like her previous boyfriend.
Is that in the third season? Is that in the most recent season?
It's not in the most recent season, but she has like a robot because her boyfriend passes away abruptly.
Oh my!
So then she gets like a thing on her phone, and then it becomes something to her doorstep, and it freaked her out, and then she couldn't do it anymore.
Oh man, that is ringing a bell. But I've seen things like that, and I've watched all the Black Mirror, except for I only watched like the first episode of the third season. It's like scary
because they seem real.
We're come on, we're headed that way. We're already there in a lot of ways, but
it's scary.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Or have you seen the one with the bees, the robot bees?
The robot bees.
That's a crazy episode. Highly recommend if you haven't watched it. That's it. That is a crazy thing to conceptualize.
I do like those. I've been watching some phenomenal shows recently. Apple TV they have bangers on Apple TV. There's one called Drops of God that's about wine. Okay. It's very, very fascinating. I think it's so cool that people can just like smell wine, like look at it. Some of them don't even have to taste it and will tell you what the soil is like, where it came from in the world, what the soil is like, what the climate's like out there, like what the vintage is. The notes in it, all the different things that were used to be put in there. Like, it's so crazy that they have all this sense and taste just like logged into their mind. They can just be like, oh yeah, that's cherry. There's a little bit of hay. What is that? Straw? Some straw in there. There's a rhubarb. A little bit of it, and they're like, oh yeah, this is definitely the Italy from so and so, 1864. Like,
what a luxurious life!
What the fuck? Do you know how many bottles of wine you have to open and sit and smell and taste? And
oh my god, yeah,
it's insane. So it's a very, very privileged lifestyle. So that's a very interesting show. That
sounds fun though.
Oh yeah, that was a fun show.
Yeah.
The show, okay. Tom Holland. Do you know who Tom Holland is?
Yeah.
Tom Holland's playing it. I don't even watch like Tom. Is he really? Or is that a joke? Because is Tom Holland's people's favorite? Maybe he is.
He's not people's favorite, but isn't he dating Zendaya?
Indeed.
Well, I love her.
Boom. There you go. Okay. So by affiliation, she makes good choices. This show is called The Crowded Room.
Okay.
This show
on Apple TV.
Yes.
Okay.
It is about. I believe it's the first person in the U.S. to be acquitted of a crime, or at least be, him and his defense trying to fight against being sent to prison for a very, very violent crime based on split personality disorder.
Oh, that is interesting. That's super cool.
I was not familiar with Tom Holland's game, but that boy played the hell out of that role. You could just see personalities switching.
Oh, wow.
And it was fascinating.
Oh.
Crazy show. So I
might have to look into that. I do like Tom Holland.
Yeah, definitely look that up. And shout out to Zendaya as well.
Yeah, shout out to Zendaya.
Thank you so much. I think we've knocked out about like 2 hours 20 minutes.
That felt like nothing.
Yeah, man, isn't it fun?
Yes. That felt like nothing.
Thank you so much for coming here and doing this. This was very cool. It's always the funnest for me, and I'm always most grateful when it's just someone that I have shared very little to no conversation with, really. And you were just open enough to pop out here and do this. So.
Yeah, I mean, I love supporting people that, again, like you saying, I only do things that I like really want to do. And the fact that you're just like really doing this right now. A lot of people are the kind of people that would just talk about this. They wouldn't like really try and pursue something. And so I think I just have like a lot of respect for that.
Oh, man.
I really appreciate that. And also too, like you're a real entrepreneur doing this stuff. So I always like to support someone that's a fellow entrepreneur, has some like great ideas,
Well, shout out to you. Thank you very much. And shout out to episode 215.
Shout out episode 215.
Very nice.
How fun
Thank
was
you,
that?
everyone. Thank you. Peace. Bye. I love you.
Bye. That was so fun.